He's the Lord of Minecraft, not the Light God King. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1. Join the Church of the Dawn. Receive eggs and bread at the beginning of each month. In the name of the dawn, I bless you. The dark abyss shall not harm you. The devil's hell shall not hurt you. The dawn shall protect you from all disasters. May you all turn away from evil and do good, dwell in peace forever, never be abandoned, and always be protected. May the dawn establish your steps, and make you forever faithful. May your words and deeds be constant, knowing the end of darkness. The dawn shall endure forever. Join the Church of the Dawn. Embrace the approaching sunrise. The dawn is with you. In front of the Blackwater City Lord's mansion, an elderly man, burly, with white hair and beard, wearing a deep red robe, raised his fists and shouted incessantly. But the passers-by, dressed in tattered clothes and with sallow complexions, only cast glances, as if looking at a madman, and then hurried away. Lyle, how is it going? Accompanied by the sound of footsteps, a handsome young man with black hair walked out from the city lord's mansion and stood in front of the old man. The old man turned around, his face bitter. Young Master Ian, I have been shouting for 2.5 hours, but still no one has joined your Church of the Dawn. How could that be? You must be using the wrong method. A bitter face, and at the end, Lyle said helplessly, Young Master Ian, these are all the prayer words you taught me. Not a single word is different. Young Master Ian, why don't you just be the city lord honestly? Although Blackwater City is poor and dilapidated, it is still a proper city. If you develop it honestly, you can still make a living. The people here are almost starving to death. How can they have the energy to believe in any dawn? Ian frowned slightly, pinched his chin, and pondered for a long time. After a moment, his eyes lit up, and he gently hammered his palm. No, Lyle, your method is wrong. Ignoring Lyle's bewildered expression, Ian stepped forward and squeezed away Lyle, who was a head taller than him. He cleared his throat and shouted loudly, Join the Church of the Dawn. You can receive eggs and bread at the beginning of each month. While, from a distance, the roar of the earth echoed, as if 10,000 horses were galloping, and from afar, a long stretch of dust could be seen. Before long, a group of sallow-faced, scantily clad people squeezed to the gate of the city lord's mansion with a speed that would make even the dark for the magic eagle feel ashamed. I'm a dawn believer. Let me join the church. The dawn is above. I will be forever faithful. Let me join the church first. Lord, I'm a child of the dawn. In a short while, the preaching stall, that was just deserted, was now crowded with people. All kinds of prayers rose and fell. From a distance, it looked like a scene of devout believers gathering to worship. Ian had a slight smile on his face and patted Lyle on the shoulder. Lyle, 10 successful choices greater than million efforts. If the direction is wrong, the effort is wasted. When you fail continuously, you should consider whether you want to change the direction and try. Return to the slightly dilapidated castle. 20 years ago, with a long whistle of a 100-ton king truck from another universe, and a cry from the Forbes family mansion in the Rederic continent, another transmigrator was born. In the 20 years of Ian's lawn growth, he gradually understood that he had come to a Western fantasy world. But unlike the unfolding of ordinary Western fantasy stories, Ian found that he had transmigrated to early point at this time. The Rederic continent was still in an era of rampant demons, raging abyss, and warlord demon kings. The 100 races of the continent, except for the demons, were still in a state of seeking survival in the cracks, shrinking in the extreme west continent, and relying on natural dangers to resist the demon invasion. To put it simply, the Rederic continent is now in the ancient barbaric era. There are no gods who suppress demons and defeat demon gods and demon kings. There is no church force that spreads across the continent and has countless believers. Even the so-called knights and magic do not have a mature system now. Basically, they are all growing wildly. Just like Lyle and the other knights, they evaluate the strength of their power only by how big a stone they can break, and how deep a gully they can cut out with the greatest destructive power. Powerful knights, awesome knights, Super awesome knights. Further on, it is the realm of how awesome the adjective is. Gods, no churches, no systems. Ian transmigrated to a western fantasy world with 3 no's. Speaking of Ian's Forbes family, it is also a famous elf family in the Bilka Principality of the 100 Races Alliance. At least it was like this before old Forbes disappeared. Old Forbes, also known as Ian's father, was a super awesome knight in Ian's evaluation point, and as old Forbes fell into a suddenly appearing abyss and disappeared in a war against the demons, the Forbes family quickly declined. The other nobles of the Bilka Principality took action at the first time and joined forces to drive Ian to this poor and dilapidated Blackwater City. So, even if humans reach the end of their rope, they still can't get rid of the vortex of interest struggles. Facing the demon invasion, the 100 Races Alliance has been at a disadvantage and struggling to survive, which makes sense. However, for Ian, Blackwater City should still be his blessed land. Here, he successfully activated the golden finger that belongs to the transmigrator, the MC World Gate. This is something Ian is quite familiar with. In his previous life, he also spent a lot of time cultivating MC. The only thing he is not proficient in is building houses. This is not a big problem. Serious old block people always remember a truth. If you want to get rich, first chop trees, dig 3 and fill 1 mine. Build a house. Continent with 3 notes. Once the 100 Races Alliance can't hold on and falls in the future, and the demons completely rage. He can only hide in the MC world. If you don't learn to build houses, do you have to rob the villagers' matchbox hut for a lifetime? So young Master Ian Forbes inherited the title of Earl, inherited the position of Blackwater City Lord, and opened the MC World Gate. The first thing to learn is how to become an excellent civil engineering brother. The good news is that Ian doesn't have to work with cement. Seeking support. Seeking all kinds of data. The most important thing is the big guys. Be sure to follow the reading. Every follow-up reading is especially important during the new book period. Chapter 2. When working, use titles. Speaking of this MC World Gate's golden finger, it's actually quite simple to operate. After placement, it's only allowed to change its position once within a year. Therefore, Ian placed the MC World Gate in the living room of his bedroom. It's not because he's afraid of insecurity. After all, the MC World Gate belongs to him. Without his consent, or if someone harbors ill intentions towards him, they cannot enter people to travel to the MC World. The MC World Gate also has an important function. When Ian's territory reaches a certain level of civilization index, he can exchange for some good things from the MC World Gate. Perhaps it's a mod, perhaps it's code permissions, or perhaps it's a divine artifact like the Universal Domination Sword, dealing 999 damage with a single strike. Newbie gift pack for civilization development. Steve physique. In the MC world, he will possess Steve's physique, while in the Rodri continent, he possesses 1/10 of Steve's physique. Steve's physical strength on the Rodri continent, Ian can proudly say, he is a super invincible spiral explosion awesome knight. Just kidding. What kind of existence is the god Steve? Eating pufferfish raw and not dying, using diamond cutting hand to furiously chop diamonds, carrying of thousands of tons, and running like the wind, emptying the surface of the earth in 1 day, and filling the ocean in 3 days, a legendary conceptual god. Even with only 1/10 of his physique, Ian can shout I don't eat beef. In the 100 Clan Alliance, much stronger than a certain god king. However, the great god Steve is not without weaknesses. Steve's magic resistance is extremely brittle, which also leads to Ian not daring to show his face in hundreds front of the demons yet. Of course, low magic resistance does not mean zero magic resistance. Just like Superman knows that Superman's magic resistance is very low. But you can let an ordinary mage from Kamataj in the Marvel universe fight him, and see what happens. Superman might not even guarantee everyone the major chance for CPR. In any case, Steve's physique only gives Ian the opportunity to develop stealthily. Don't be reckless. Although the Rodri continent is ancient and barbaric, but the magic system of the demons is not to be trifled with. They have been developing in the abyss where the law of the dark forest prevails for who knows how long, can even use water-based forbidden spells to wipe their butts. The immediate priority for Ian, besides learning civil engineering, interior design, urban construction, etc., is to quickly recruit people. The MC World territory and Blackwater City territory will start construction simultaneously, increase the civilization index, and rely on the MC World Gates angel investment to go public as soon as possible. To this end, after thinking it over, Ian decided to plagiarize the development of cults from his hometown to cultivate a group of devout believers. Having seen the greed and darkness of peoples, Ian does not believe in human nature. Therefore, he chose to create a god in the Western fantasy world be simply summarized by the word loyalty of the world again. And the Western world fantasy, especially one that is still in ancient times, without even the rudimentary form of a church, a Western fantasy world where creatures struggle to survive. The brand new concept of faith will spread rapidly like locusts, taking root in the depths of civilization, growing wildly. The MC world needs a group of fanatics to deeply develop it, otherwise, Ian wouldn't trust it. Therefore, the Church of the Dawn is the cornerstone of faith that Ian has set. Ian is the first Pope of the Church of the Dawn. And now, His Great Holiness the Pope is going to inspect his devout believers, a full 2-digit 19-person Dawn army. Okay, Ian also knows that compared to the traditional Western fantasy world, which has hundreds of millions of believers and spreads its teachings across the continent, his Church of the Dawn can at best be called a gang. But he, young Master Ian, is the first to try it. Before the establishment of the Church of the Dawn, the title of Pope didn't even exist. 19 people, aren't they also a living force for developing the MC world? After all, those who enter the MC world with Ian's permission can enjoy 1/3 of Steve's physique in the MC world. Although this increase is much slower than a group of Steves developing, it is enough. Besides, the Church of the Dawn, which has free egg bread buffs, will soon have more nominal believers who enjoy the benefits brought by the Church of the Dawn, and the MC world will soon become devout believers or even fanatics. It will be alright. Looking at the soldiers and servants dressed as believers standing neatly in front of him, looking at him with reverence. Pope Ian delivered his first brief and powerful speech to the Church of the Dawn. The newest novels are first published at website address, clap. Standing at the front, a sweet looking girl dressed as a maid immediately raised her hands with a face full of glory and clapped non-stop. Looking at the actions of even some people jumping up and down with their hands raised high in the back, Ian quickly reached out and pressed down to stop them. This action is too easy to make people jump out of the scene. If it continues, Ian is afraid that he will hear the song You're from Dandang in his ear. In the Church of the Dawn, there is no saying of a second son. Alright, Leisha. Ian waved his hand with a gentle face and full of demeanor. Let everyone prepare. When Leal returns, let's have lunch together. Our Church of the Dawn is about to officially begin its first expedition. Yes, young Master Ian. But Leisha answered decisively first, then said with some worry, are there only a few of us? Young Master Ian, even if you still don't trust the soldiers of Blackwater City, the Knights of the Forbes family can always aren't. The Knights of the Forbes family all here? Ian looked at Leisha helplessly. Old Forbes disappeared, and the Forbes family quickly collapsed. Now, besides Butler Leal, who has taken care of him since he was a child, the only ones following Ian are these 18 maids and knights. Of course, to the outside world, they should be called paladin knights and nuns. Those who are still loyal after the Forbes family has almost disappeared from the aristocratic circle, and who have guarded him to Blackwater City even without wages. Ian naturally can trust them. Anyway, those who have malicious intentions towards him cannot enter the MC world. Young Master Ian, what about the believers that Butler Leal recruited today? Leisha mentioned it, but before she could finish speaking, Ian raised his hand to interrupt her. I still don't trust them. Believers bought with egg bread will betray the Church of the Dawn at any time because of milk noodles. They still need to be assessed, but we can't let them eat and drink for free in our Church of the Dawn. Leisha's pretty little face suddenly wrinkled, and she glanced at the outside with some anger. Ian shook his head and smiled. How can it be considered eating and drinking for free? Can't they do the construction of Blackwater City? To put it bluntly, only we are qualified to expedition to the real Dawn, and they still need to be trained and slowly grow into devout believers under the guidance of the Dawn. As soon as the words fell, a little maid next to Leisha, who was probably not even 1.6 meters tall, looked at Ian with longing. Young Master Ian is so smart. Freen, when talking about work, use titles. Yes. Your Holiness the Pope. Big shots. Give me some data. Have mercy on me. Chapter 3. Call it MC World, not the Aurora Heavenly Kingdom. Young Master Ian, I'm back. Hearing this, Freya looked at Ian in disbelief, and then immediately turned into a puffed up little goldfish. This made Ian couldn't help but reach out and poke Freya's chubby little face. Lil didn't mind, picked up a teacup, took a sip of plain water, and breathed a sigh of relief. Young Master Ian, your method really works. In just over an hour, we received more than 500 applications from citizens to join the church. Of course, there were also more than 500 people asking if they could get their missed egg bread from this month. There are still more than 5,000 citizens and soldiers in Blackwater City who haven't joined the church, and many people are also asking if they can continue to fill out application forms in the afternoon. Some people also asked if we recruit believers from other cities. They said they have relatives who have long been devout believers of the Aurora Church. After this morning's arrangement, we have now initially integrated into Blackwater City, and the citizens of Blackwater City have a much higher acceptance of the new city lord. Next, we can gradually take control of Blackwater City and reorganize the army. Ian smiled with relief. Sure enough, for this kind of ancient Western world fantasy, the existence of the church is an invincible method. After a moment of emotion, Ian shook his head number of Aurora Church believers, so that more people will yearn for the Aurora Church from the bottom of their hearts. As for other matters in Blackwater City, there is no need to rush for the time being. When the Aurora Church has influenced the entire Blackwater City, whether there is a city lord or not will not affect our control over Blackwater City. The most important thing is, although Blackwater City is poor, it can basically operate normally. Since it can operate normally, there is no need to show off one's authority as the city lord. It's like running code. Even if there is a bug, as long as the program can run normally, there is no need to modify or delete it. Realization. I understand. Young Master Ian means that, as long as all the citizens of Blackwater City believe in our Aurora Church, even if we are not in Blackwater City in the future, Blackwater City will still be the territory of our Aurora Church. City lords may have term limits, but faith has no time limit. With this, we can continue to expand, and eventually encompass the entire 100 Clan Alliance. At that time, young Master Ian will raise his arms as the Pope, and even the King will have to bow down and receive the grace of the Aurora. Use this to revitalize the glory of the Forbes family, as expected of young Master Ian. Hearing this, everyone around looked at Ian with awe, while the latter smiled awkwardly but politely. He didn't think so much. After all, it was impossible for him to give up Blackwater City, this land of civilization's spark. But as the Pope, he always had to have his own persona. He nodded and smiled faintly. That's right. What Lecture said is all correct. After saying that, Ian hurriedly changed the subject. First expedition of the Aurora Church. Lecture bowed slightly, took some maids, put on a pure white chef's hat, and walked straight to the kitchen inside the castle. Yes, in addition to her identity as the head maid, Lecture also serves as the head of the Aurora Church's Holy Sisters, the head chef, the head gardener, the head of etiquette, and many other positions. Just like Leo, in addition to serving as the Forbes family's steward, he is also the Aurora Church's Cardinal Archbishop, the Forbes family's night instructor, the family's financial officer. There's no way the current Forbes family, including Ian, has only 20 people at most. With the glory gone, those who are capable do more, which is also the maximization of human resources. Don't look at Leo and Lecture holding multiple positions, but their wages are not even there. The Forbes family just arrived in Blackwater City, and the first batch of taxes hasn't even arrived yet, so where would they get the money to pay the servants' wages? Everyone is still living off their savings together. Therefore, Ian trusts and appreciates these loyal servants very much. To be able to stay with the Forbes family when they have fallen to such a point, still without wages, and without leaving, that is a true ally. Looking at the 10 knights in front of him who still had a decent mental outlook, Ian could only condense thousands of words into one sentence. It will be alright. Applause. Cavalry Captain Markov took over Lecture's work with a serious face, and took the lead in cheering for Ian. Cavalry Captain Markov can be regarded as Leo's adopted son. He was originally an orphan who was taken into the Forbes family by the old Forbes to seek a way out. He was raised by Leal and taught the ways of knight training. His talent is good, and he can smash a 5-meter diameter boulder with one sword, making him a powerful knight. After the Forbes family fell into decline, he still firmly followed Ian, shouting every day to revitalize the glory of the Forbes family. To him, the Forbes family meant everything. All in all, Markov, who is a bit stubborn, is a true fanatic of the Aurora Church. These people in front of him are all the backbone of the Aurora Church. Point in Ian's heart. They will also be the true high-level members of the Aurora Church in the future. Husky can become a polar wolf king. What is truly important, from beginning to end, is only loyalty. Although the city lord's mansion is so poor that they can't make ends meet and don't even have a few gold coins, basic food can still be guaranteed. It's just that the food isn't very good. A hard, teeth-grinding black bread, plus a glass of plain water, is Leal and the others' lunch. As for Ian, he's a little better. There's still a small piece of meat that gets stuck in his teeth when he eats it in the bread. Ian swallowed a lunch with tears of bitterness. Finally, after feeling full, Ian got up. Prepare yourselves. Set off on an expedition. Leal's heart was filled with awe, and he patted the long sword at his waist. Yes, young Master Ian. They don't know much about the MC world, but they also know that Ian has his own skills, which is why he still believes that the Forbes family can rise again. To put it bluntly, right now, Leal and the others are following Ian only because of the Forbes family, not the Aurora Church. Strictly speaking, they don't even understand what a church is. Young Master Ian, are everyone sure you don't want to pick some of the new believers we received today to go with us? Relying on just a few of us for the expedition and exploration may not be able to protect your safety. No need. Before Ian could answer, Lecture said with a profound look. Young Master Ian said that he doesn't trust these nominal believers who have just joined the Aurora Church. Leal suddenly understood and nodded in agreement. I was wrong. Indeed, not as qualified to follow His Holiness the Pope to explore the great Aurora Heavenly Kingdom. Ian nodded and smiled faintly. Chapter 4. To get rich, start by chopping trees. In fact, before personally coming to the MC world, no matter how flowery Ian's words were, Leal and the others didn't have a real sense of the MC world. They just thought that Ian had accidentally discovered a relatively safe abyss without demons. In the Roderick continent, which is full of abysses, this kind of thing is rare, but the probability is not zero. But until they saw the starlight-filled portal with their own eyes, until they stood on this square land where even the air was extraordinarily sweet, they understood Ian was serious. This place is not a so-called newborn abyss at all, but a real world. A world full of dawn. There really are gods in the world. Leisure was in a trance for a long time, and finally, the gaze towards Ian gradually turned into the fanaticism of a sister of the church, looking up to the god of light. The squares had not changed. Looking down, the flat ground actually had neat square gaps, and the surrounding trees also grew neatly. Even the distant cliffs and lakes were neat. How could there be such a neat world in this world, when the common sense explanations on the Roderick continent cannot lead to an understanding of the existence of the world in front of them? The descent of gods and the coming of heaven became the only answer. From this moment on, in the hearts of Leal and others, the concept of the Dawn God sect gradually caught up, approaching the Forbes family in their hearts, and make them proud of their identity as Dawn God sect believers from the bottom of their hearts. At this moment, everyone looked at Ian, who had a calm expression, standing at the front with his hands behind his back, leaving them only a lonely back point. The color of reverence in his eyes was hard to hide. Is still so calm. Freen looked up with admiration. Continent be forever protected by the dawn. Let the Roderick continent be forever protected by the dawn. For the first time, sincerely folded their hands together, making this action and prayer that they didn't quite understand. Now, perhaps only this kind of praise can express their shock. His hands behind his back, unmoved. But in fact, he is not as great as they thought. After landing, seeing such a real MC world, Ian took a breath of cold air to express his surprise, but also because he inhaled too hard and got choked, causing his chest and abdomen to still be cramping. If Freen and others went around to face Ian, they would be able to see the indescribable and wonderful expression on his face. But for the sake of the great Pope's face, for the perfect first spiritual impact that the MC world can bring to them. Ian stubbornly resisted without saying a word. So, a person with such self-control is bound to accomplish great things. The scene was a bit quiet for a while. Leal and Leisure and others folded their hands together, looking up at Ian with admiration. And Ian took a deep breath to adjust his cramping muscles. After a long time, Ian turned around with a warm smile on his face, but this smile, now in the eyes of Leal and others, has gradually rippled with divine brilliance. As you can see, the MC world is not an abyss, but a truly existing, dreamlike world where dawn is always present. And here is the foundation of our Dawn God sect. Leisure said with a serious face. Yes, Your Holiness the Pope. Regarding the Great Dawn Heaven, we will definitely keep our mouths shut and never leak it. I swear in the name of Dawn. The others also repeated Leisure's oath, and Ian nodded with satisfaction. It's the MC world. Correcting a sentence, Ian continued, in short, I think I don't need to say anything more. As you can see, this boundless world without demons belongs to me, to our Dawn God sect, and we, who own an entire world, will surely enjoy the protection of the Dawn forever. No hunger, no disasters, no demons' eggs. There will be bread, there will be too. But only the most devout believers of the Dawn God sect, only those believers who have obtained my approval and the protection of the Dawn are qualified to enter the MC world and share this glory with us. As soon as the voice fell, Freen took out a notebook in a serious manner, murmuring in a low voice, Popes, Oracle, the loyal, the devout, those loved by the Dawn, can ascend to the Dawn Heaven and eternal enjoy peace. The latest and most complete novels are published first. Ian didn't know that the famous talks on the Papal Oracle appeared in later generations in embryonic form. Today in Freen's hands, Ian was still introducing on his own. Everyone has also noticed that the scenery of the MC world is picturesque, but looking closely, you can see that this world is different from the Roderick continent in every way. Leisure nodded seriously. Yes, Your Holiness the Pope. The Great Dawn Heaven should naturally be extraordinary. Why do I feel like you accept it faster than me? Ian slandered in his heart, and then said, therefore, this world also has its own set of special behaviors and laws. First of all, you must understand that this world has no humans. If its appearance is different from ours, is not a true intelligent life. Therefore, there is no need to show mercy to life. Secondly, the MC world is boundless, barren, and full of endless possibilities. Here is a fantasy land to realize all dreams. The premise is that we need to constantly build. Let the MC world become a true paradise that countless future believers of the Dawn God sect yearn for. Freen thoughtfully and jotted it down. Finally, Ian raised his voice. I will teach you all the skills for developing in the MC world and use the mystery of this world to make you stronger. You are all the future of the Dawn God sect, and the Dawn God sect and the MC world will be great because of us. As the voice fell, with Leisure's applause, the familiar song You Come From Dandang seemed to ring in Ian's ears again. In a trance point, Ian slowly raised his hand, and in an instant, the early high-level group of the Dawn God sect became silent again. Regarding the various special features of the MC world, I will slowly tell you during the future development work. Answering questions and solving doubts is also what I, as the Pope, should do. And now Ian glanced at the square sun still in the sky, with a smile on his face. I will teach you the ultimate truth of the MC world. Only by reading this truth can you be qualified to start a great pioneering journey in the MC world. Hearing this immediately pricked up their ears. Looking at Ian with a look of longing, Ian cleared his throat. Remember, everyone, get rich. Start by chopping trees. Dig 3 and fill 1 in the mine. Chapter 5. It's time to give these Western fantasy folks a little Minecraft shock. The Papal Oracle Talks. Revelation Chapter 1. God preached in heaven. If you want to get rich, start by chopping trees and digging mines with a 3x1 method. Thus, the path of dawn begins beneath the trees. The root of hope sprouts from within the caves. Your Holiness, where should we begin? Leisure looked at Ian with an adoring expression, and the latter nodded and smiled slightly. Don't be so formal, there are no outsiders here. Yes, young Master Ian. Ian turned his head and glanced around. They were currently located in a forest. Wood was not lacking. Even creatures like pigs, cattle, sheep, and chickens could be seen in abundance within the forest. The only thing missing was a natural mine. However, according to the professional mining style of gameplay, most miners actually trust the man-made mines they dig themselves more. Chopping in reality, Ian never considered developing by chopping trees is wrong. Currently, there are 20 people who have entered the MC world. Apart from Ian, there are 19 noobers who don't even know how to chop trees. Most importantly, Blackwater City still has more than 5,000 citizens waiting to be fed. Located in the northern wilderness of the 100 Clan Alliance, Blackwater City cannot be considered absolutely safe. The strange world phenomenon of the Abyss is not impossible to appear in the 100 Clan Alliance area, otherwise, Old Fog Boss would not have disappeared into the Abyss. And must quickly strengthen the defense of Blackwater City, develop the territory of Blackwater City, and synchronously develop the territory in the MC world point to pursue the fastest development in the shortest amount of time, and exchange it for the rewards of the MC world gate point. Calculating it this way, Ian actually only has one path. To take point livestock electricity point, as long as he finds a village, sets up a mob grinder, and cultivates fisherman and fletcher, a steady stream of emeralds will come. Ian can completely rely on villagers. This pure, natural, pollution-free, and harmless environmentally friendly biological battery to rapidly develop villager technology without having to go down the mine to dig for diamonds. As long as there are enough villagers, he can equip Lael and the others with a set of enchanted diamond equipment in minutes. We're still looking around from time to time, their eyes full of amazement and disbelief. Occasionally, some people would secretly pinch their own soft flesh to judge whether they were dreaming. Ian smiled. It's time to give these Western fantasy folks a little Minecraft shock. In the next moment, Ian moved. Young Master Ian, please be careful, Lael instructed, then turned his head and glared at Markov. Ian, Godfather, this is the Great Dawn Heaven, how could there be? Markov retorted, but seeing Lael's sharp eyes, he still smiled sheepishly and followed Ian with a wagging tail meaningfully. Don't worry, let me show you a sample first. After saying that, Ian stopped talking and swung his fist at an oak tree in front of him. Before Leisure could express her concern, the oak tree burst open with a bang, turning into small blocks that fell into Ian's backpack. But at this time, Leisure and the others were no longer in the mood to pay attention to Ian's sudden brute force. Tree. Freen immediately exploded, hiding behind Leisure, pointing excitedly at the oak tree that Ian had broken. The tree flew. Sister Leisure. The tree flew. How is that possible? Why didn't the tree fall? Not to mention Leisure, even Lael, who was knowledgeable and experienced, was desperately rubbing his eyes at this moment, staring dumbfounded at the tree with a section broken off time ever. Lael, the atheist, sincerely prayed for the blessing of the dawn. Ian made a crafting table, casually placed it aside, then smiled brightly and gave a thumbs up. The first law of the MC world: trees grow in the air. After saying that, without paying attention to Lael and the others, whose jaws were about to drop, he continued to chop trees with his bare hands, was unleashing a deliberate blast fist, using his fist wind to blast the tree blocks above his head from the air. At this point, all the trunk blocks of this oak tree disappeared without a trace. Ian walked to the crafting table and busied himself. Who was quite old, suddenly felt that he had lived in vain for decades. In the MC world, he had no life experience at all. At it blankly for a long time, picked it up, and took a bite also. The latest and most complete novels are published first. Just as she was about to let Ian take a bite too, Freen turned her head, but found that Ian had disappeared without a trace. Only next to the crafting table, there was a large pit, and a strange block that was still emitting warm heat. Young Master Ian. Sister Leisure. Young Master Ian is gone. Freen anxiously pushed Leisure, who was still doubting her life, and everyone came back to their senses and began to search around in panic. Stop shouting, I'm here. Suddenly, Ian's shout came from the cave. Everyone hurriedly gathered around, but saw Ian climbing up a ladder that appeared in the pit at some unknown time. Before long, Ian stood in front of everyone again, looking bright and neat, leading them by an era. Just in the short, while they were in a daze, an apple dropped. Ian glanced at Freen, smiled and rubbed the little girl's face. In this respect, the MC world still respects Newton. Young Master Ian, you eat too. Freen hurriedly held the bitten apple and handed it to Ian, as if offering a treasure. The latter waved his hand. Supplement more vitamins. By the way, if you are hungry, eat some meat to fill your stomach first. The black bread we ate at noon didn't make us feel full at all. When I came in just now, my saturation was only 5 chicken legs. Leisure, throw away all that black bread for me in the future. Don't make our Dawn Church look like we can't afford to live. After saying that, Ian took out a roasted lamb chop and took a bite. The rich aroma instantly everyone entered noses. Markov and the others couldn't help but drool. They hadn't eaten meat for a long time, since old Fog Boss disappeared. Young Master Ian, where did you get the lamb from? Leisure looked at Ian with some longing, and the latter pointed around. When you were in a daze just now, I slaughtered a few sheep along the way, collected some meat, and cooked it. If you are hungry, just say so. I still have a lot here. As he said that, Ian rummaged through his backpack and went to the furnace to take out a handful. He turned his head and said vaguely with a roasted lamb chop in his mouth, roasted lamb chops, roasted pork chops, roasted chicken, roasted steak. Although they are all roasted, the taste is much better than black bread. Leisure and the others were still stunned, but in the blink of an eye, Ian had already stuffed roasted meat chops into their hands. Smelling the tempting aroma of the meat, Leisure swallowed hard. She glanced around at the 4 or 5 large clumps of leaves floating in the sky around young Master Ian. Have we been in a daze for a long time? It's okay, it's only been 3 or 4 minutes. Ian carried the hoe and chewed on the lamb chops. Saw 5 trees, killed so many animals, made dozens of roasted meat chops along the way, and dug such a deep tunnel, and built a ladder along the way. My Pope, is that reasonable? Ian swallowed the last piece of lamb, smiled brightly, and gave a thumbs up. I used to play speedruns. Facts prove that old soldiers never die, and they don't even fade away. Chapter 6 Leisure. Young Master Ian is definitely the god of dawn. As the old saying goes, true sadness is not loud lament, but silent speechlessness. Similarly, true shock is never shouting, but utter silence. Right now, Leisure and the others are sitting under the tree, munching on fragrant roasted meat. Even though this food is a delicacy fit for a king, even more delicious than the royal fare. They simply can't taste any flavor, their eyes are dull, and they mechanically repeat the chewing motion. They originally thought that coming to the MC world, a world different from the abyss, controlled by their young Master Ian, was shocking enough. Unexpectedly, there are also trees that grow in the air. They thought that trees growing in the air were already outrageous enough. World in 7 days. They didn't take it seriously before, but now looking at it, this is a completely reasonable inference. With Ian's speed and the outrageous characteristics of the MC world, creating the world in 7 days is entirely traceable. So, Leisure looked pensive, and after a long time, she punched her palm with her fist. Young Master Ian is a god of dawn. Impossible. Young Master Ian grew up before my eyes. Lyra subconsciously retorted, and immediately, Leisure became unhappy. Raising another piece of roasted pork chop in her hand, she said plausibly, dare you swear to this pork chop that young Master Ian is not the god of dawn? Lyra was silent for a long time, then suddenly realized, and said with certainty, young Master Ian must have awakened the wisdom of a god. It was said in young Master Ian's 7 days of creation by the god of dawn. Many gods are not born gods, but after experiencing the calamities they deserve, their wisdom awakens, and they ascend to the heavens. Young Master Ian must be the god of dawn who descended to earth to experience tribulation. Until the old master. Young Master Ian's tribulation is finally over. After saying that, Lyra lowered his head sadly. If young Master Ian had awakened earlier, the old master wouldn't have. Everyone's emotions were also let down by Lyra. Suddenly, Freeney cried out anxiously, sister. Leisure, why can't I pick up this apple? Leisure looked at Freeney suspiciously, and the latter quickly reached out to pick up the apple again, but strangely, Freeney's hand passed right through the apple. Church of the Dawn yet. Leisure was also a little scared, and hurriedly got up to hug Freeney. Feeling Freeney's soft body, she breathed a sigh of relief. Don't talk nonsense, you are still alive and well. But I really can't pick up that apple. Freeney's big eyes were watery, with an expression that she was about to cry at any moment. That's because your backpack is full, Freeney. Suddenly, Ian's voice came from the mine. Everyone looked over and saw Ian, who had gone down the mine again at some point, climbing up. He casually threw down a dozen stone axes and torches, and chuckled. Everyone who comes to the MC world will have their own backpack space. You only have 1/3 of my physique, so you only have 12 backpack slots. If the backpack slots are full, you can't continue to fill them. Freeney, you've been running back and forth under the disappearing leaves. Your backpack is probably full of all kinds of sundries, so you definitely can't pick up the apple. Hearing this, Lyra and the others were stunned for a moment, then surprised. Spatial equipment? Can we have it too? Isn't that a treasure unique to the demon race? It's not that mysterious. Ian waved his hand. People who enter the MC world will open up their own backpack space. Just silently recite backpack in your heart. A front, which only they could see. On it were 12 square grids, some filled with things, and some empty. In addition, next to the backpack space was their own small character image, with a few spaces on the left side of the human figure, and 4 spaces on the right. Below the human figure projection, on the left were 10 small hearts, and on the right were 10 small chicken leg patterns smiled. Make good use of it. This thing can improve your combat power. Improve combat power. As soon as Markov heard this, his eyes lit up. Ian also slowly explained the function of the panel to everyone, especially their 12 slot backpack space. Getting Ian's permission to enter the MC world will grant you something like a newbie gift pack, which is the backpack space. This is not unique to the MC world, but will be bound to them. To put it simply, the latest and fastest novels are at. When Lyra and the others leave the MC world, the things in the backpack will also leave with them, and have the characteristics of the MC world synchronously point. Even if they take it out, as long as the block does not leave their hand, they themselves will not be affected by the actual weight of the block point. That is to say, Lyra and the others can completely take turning people with gold bricks on. The Rodri continent. 0.1 cubic meter of gold brick weighs nearly 20 tons. As long as they don't let go, only the enemy will feel the weight of these 20 tons, and as carrying gold bricks can be said to be an awesome knight. This characteristic made Ian very pleasantly surprised. This is a powerful characteristic to enhance the strength of the believers of the Church of the Dawn. Imagine when the time comes to conquer the demon race, the knights under Ian's command, each wielding a group of gold bricks, with every move weighing more than 1,200 tons. Isn't that like each person wielding a frigate for a death charge? Even more exaggerated, an enchanted golden apple uses 8 cubic meters of gold bricks on average. An enchanted golden apple weighs nearly 160 tons. Superimpose 64 enchanted golden apples, run to the demon race's base camp, and launch a small airdrop. Ian has already thought of a name for this trick point. It's called the Rod of God point. To put it bluntly, has the demon race ever seen space-based weapons? Of course, this is just an idea. If there are really enchanted golden apples, Ian can't wait to save them for himself. Moreover, after the things of the MC world appear and leave your hand on the Roderick continent, if you want to pick them up again, you must have the strength to match the weight of these things themselves. Otherwise, once you throw it out, don't even think about getting it back. The goes same for weapons. Overall, although there are, after listening to Ian's explanation, Lyra and the others obviously also thought of ways to use this characteristic. Each of them had bright eyes, which made Ian suspect that these guys were planning to take a group of stones back to the wall. How is it? Are you full? Seeing that Markov and the others seemed about to make some incredible requests, Ian hurriedly changed the subject. Full. Freeney raised her hand, looking at Ian happily. Smashed restrictions. Young Master Ian, thank you. I haven't eaten meat for a long time. I've never eaten such delicious meat. Thank you, young Master Ian. It's really dereliction of duty. As your maid, I only cared about sitting and being in a daze, letting you work hard alone. Leisure lowered her head a little ashamed, and then quickly picked up a stone axe on the ground. I have already remembered the process just now. That is what young Master Ian said. If you want to get rich, first chop trees, and dig 3 and fill 1 mine secret. I can do it. Next, please let us work. We can't let young Master Ian bear the great road of the Church of the Dawn alone. At the end, Leisure added another sentence. Please rest assured, although the Great Dawn God Kingdom is full of wonders, we have already adjusted our mentality. No matter what happens, we will surround you and remain calm. Freeney on the side also straightened her face and said seriously, we have withstood the most severe test, and next, no matter what happens, we will not lose our composure. Please rest assured, young Master Ian. Ian looked at thoughtfully, stroking his chin. Really, more real than real gold, that's... But, Ian nodded with relief. Then, next, I'm going to be an astronaut. This time, Leisure and the others were stunned again, looking at Ian in confusion. Astronaut. The next moment, watching Ian spiraling into the sky, Leisure and the others' calm state of mind finally couldn't hold back. Chapter 7. Bioelectricity is the MC meter. As it turns out, some things should never be said with absolute certainty. After a long time adjusting their mindset and trying to align their thinking with the illogical norms of the MC world, Leia and the others looked up at Ian, who was using blocks to jump straight up, and in the blink of an eye, had built a pillar that soared into the sky, gradually turning into a small black dot as he stepped into the heavens. Leia, the old butler who had been a gentleman his entire life, finally blurted out his first swear word. This is F*** ing possible? Young Master Ian is definitely the god of dawn. The king of light. Look. Young Master Ian has ascended to heaven. Moreover, creating a pillar to heaven in the blink of an eye. Isn't that a miracle? I think this pillar should be preserved for countless believers to admire in the future. This is young Master Ian's path to heaven. Honest point, he now believed Ian was the god of dawn even more than Leisure did. So, the dawn god religion young Master Ian told me about wasn't a joke. Claire looked touched. Sister. Leisure, will young Master Ian just fly away and never come back? Freeney weakly tugged at Leisure's sleeve. Leisure's face was filled with the light of faith, and she gently stroked Freeney's head. Young Master Ian is a benevolent and kind god of dawn. He will never abandon his believers. Those who sincerely believe in young Master Ian will surely receive the protection of the dawn. Freeney nodded as if she understood. After a long while, Leia clapped his hands. Alright, everyone, stop spacing out. Young Master Ian won't abandon us. He's just looking to the future for our dawn god religion. We must also work hard and follow young Master Ian's divine decree. To get rich, first chop trees, dig 3 and fill 1 in the mines. Everyone, let's get to work. Let young Master Ian see our determination to believe in the dawn. As soon as he finished speaking, Markov and the others immediately became energized, shouting and picking up their axes to chop trees around them. Only Leia, Leisure, and a few others remained in place, waiting for Ian to come down. With Leia's vision, he could naturally see that Ian was looking around at the highest point. Although he didn't know what Ian was planning to do, but, with so many miracles of the MC world in front of them, Leia and the others had long become fanatical believers of the dawn god religion. Point simply put, Freeney, remember, whatever young Master Ian does is right. Leisure solemnly instructed Freeney. Yes, Sister Leisure. In fact, Ian's ascent was not to show off to Leisure and the others, to make them aware of the magic of the MC world. Even though he had just chopped trees and mined, Ian still remembered his current situation. Chopping trees won't make you rich. Bioelectricity will make you a fortune. Just like when Ian killed so many animals and saved so much meat. After sharing it with Leia and the others, there wasn't much left civilization, and simultaneously developed the MC world's territory civilization. He had to use bioelectricity. Finding villages and villagers was Ian's main goal. Only by finding villagers could he truly set sail. But with the time flow and the MC world synchronized with the Rodri continent, it would be dark in 2 or 3 hours. At that time, zombies and skeletons would be everywhere. Ian couldn't just lead to dig 3 and fill 1. He also didn't have time to lead to choose a path through the jungle aimlessly, to gamble on whether everyone could find a village plains. There was a high probability that there would be villages on the plains. As it turned out, people wouldn't always be unlucky. Although the spawn point of the MC world was not very friendly to him, a player who intended to use bioelectricity, there was always a way out village. He saw neat soil that was different from the grassland. That could only prove that it was the road planned by the village. Ian happily clapped his hands. That's great. Now, the clean, pollution-free, environmentally friendly, and recyclable biological battery has a place to land. Moreover, plain villages are the most suitable for infrastructure construction, and are definitely the best choice for building an MC territory. In addition, this dense jungle provides wood, and the lakes near the jungle provide water. The newest and most complete novels are first published on. In the short term, Ian couldn't think of any other base more suitable than a plain village. The next thing to do was to rush to the village, determine the new spawn point, so that he could directly arrive at the village next time he teleported through the MC gate. Immediately, Ian didn't delay, took out his pickaxe and smashed the stone blocks under his feet. In a short while, he had landed again. He looked up at Leia and the 3 others surrounding him. Ian keenly noticed that the way they looked at him had changed again and again. It even seemed like they weren't looking at a person. Ian didn't think much about it. Right now, his heart was full of villages and the biological batteries in the villages. Leia, where are the others? I asked them to work. You can't be the only one working hard. Back quickly, we have to get on the road. Leia was stunned for a moment, but quickly moved to call people. Leia was a little puzzled and said, "Young Master Ian, aren't we going to chop trees and go down to the mines? That's basic operation." Ian waved his hand with a smile. "Now, we are going to do something more difficult." More difficult? Leia subconsciously looked up at the pillar that had disappeared the height. Ian shook his head helplessly and then said, "Our Dawn God religion needs to develop as soon as possible, and both Blackwater City and the MC world need to speed up construction. The basic mining school is not suitable for us. We have to take the technology route." Leia, you remember, science and technology are productivity. Leia was at a loss. She didn't know what science and technology meant, but in short, one sentence. More difficult? Leia's face was a little embarrassed. "We haven't even understood the basics yet. Young Master Ian, I'm afraid don't worry." Ian waved his hand and smiled. "Just do what I say. In practice, you will gradually become familiar with the MC world. But the most urgent thing is to lay the foundation first. Get everyone on the bus first, and then buy the ticket, understand?" Leia's face turned red. She shyly, and then secretly glanced at Ian, twisting the hem of her clothes. She murmured, "If it's young Master Ian's, it's okay to keep getting on the bus without buying a ticket." Ian rolled his eyes and slapped Leia's head angrily. "Don't think about things that can't be reviewed every day. You're a girl. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels." Chapter 8, MC World, the high unemployment rate. Once returned, Ian discovered another pleasing situation. Markov and the others, although easily startled, generally possessed strong learning abilities. During Ian's brief observation of the terrain, Markov and his companions had already mastered the tree punching technique he had demonstrated. While their tree punching efficiency everyone was much slower than Ian's due to their inferior physiques, their numbers compensated the MC world. It was, at least, a testament to their dedication, and most importantly, they were diligently learning, which was enough. Moreover, these oak blocks, even if not needed here, could be transported back to Blackwater City for use. Whether for construction or sale, it was a viable method of utilization. Ian naturally didn't hesitate to give his loyal servants some positive emotional feedback. The development of the church, in essence, involved providing emotional value to believers in the name of God. Ian was quite adept at this. After a few encouraging words like Dawn's protection and eternal heavenly grace, he instructed to proceed eastward. Minutes, they finally emerged from the oak forest. Gazing upon the endless flat grassland before them, the group once again voiced heartfelt praise. Standing at the edge of the forest, overlooking the boundless wilderness pack, the floating clouds in the sky, the wild horses grazing leisurely on the ground, and the distant, enormous lake resembling a mirror, abyssal forces here. If we could live here forever, forgetting the turmoil of the Rodri continent, it would be the happiest thing. If even a hint of the situation here were to leak out, I fear the entire 100 race alliance of the Rodri continent would yearn to join our Dawn Church and ascend to the great Dawn Heaven. Hearing this, Ian smiled inscrutably. I think it's more likely that the 100 Race Alliance would directly dispatch troops to attack our Blackwater city. These words instantly plunged the others, who were still immersed in the happiness of being cleansed by the beautiful scenery. From heaven to hell point a shadow of gloom immediately clouded Lear's and the others' faces. I haven't seen the so-called elves, dwarves, and other races of the 100 Race Alliance without contact. I won't comment. Ian stretched lazily, saying softly, but I've seen many people, and I know the nature of humanity. Young Master Ian, please rest assured. Leisure placed a hand on her chest with a solemn expression. Even if it means death, we will not reveal even the slightest bit of information about the Great Dawn Heaven. Ian nodded non-committally, then concentrated his gaze on the direction of some slightly regular dirt road traces in the distance. The village area was still not visible too, but from the hazy shadows, scattered unnatural buildings everyone could be seen. There must be a village there. Thinking of this, Ian couldn't help but feel impatient, urging to up. Along the way, speed Markov and the past wild horses more than once others. Although these wild horses looked a bit blocky, their running speed, after being startled, truly made their mouths water. Good horses. Markov swallowed, filled with longing. Absolutely top-notch horses, their speed almost rivaling some magical beasts. As a knight, possessing such a treasure would more than double their strength. Ian also saw through Markov's and the others' thoughts, casually reassuring them, and since the herd was here, they would have a chance to catch them. Upon hearing this, Ian's knights immediately became highly motivated, finally within reach. Even further away, Ian was pleasantly surprised to discover the shadows of tall mountains. It seemed that they had chosen the right direction. The village was not far from mountainous terrain, where there would definitely be natural caves village before him. About a few hundred meters south of the village was a huge lake, covering at least several thousand blocks, indicating the presence of many drowned zombies. Most knew small say in first hair, but this wasn't a problem. The drowned trident was also something Ian needed. Not for combat, but for its trident mixer properties when using redstone currents. Speaking of which, Ian was most satisfied with these MC characteristics. His MC world didn't have version distinctions, encompassing most of the advantages and strengths of all versions, combining the best of everything. In other words, the trident mixer and TNT duplication, two features that shouldn't be compatible, could be achieved simultaneously. This greatly facilitated Ian's use of redstone currents. This village wasn't large, and the number of villagers wasn't high either. Ian observed for a moment, and came to a conclusion that made him even more satisfied. There was a compost bin next to the farm, and a professional farmer was tending to the fields. Must be one. The two-story building, according to common sense, likely housed a librarian. In other words, this village had at least 3 professional villagers, all of whom were relatively useful. As for the rest, Ian roughly observed for a while, there were no green-robed idiot villagers, all were unemployed. Ian couldn't help but sincerely thank the MC world's high unemployment rate for creating so many excellent biological batteries for him. There was a huge iron golem next to the well, wandering aimlessly with glowing red eyes. Judging from the population, professional status, village location, surrounding resources, terrain, and other factors, this was a choice that was insignificant in the game, but in the real MC world, it was the best early stage base selection. This is it. Ian clapped his hands and turned to look, noticing Leisure and the others whispering to each other. Are these things the natives of Dawn Heaven? The little things are quite unique looking. Their appearance suggests they are well behaved. But didn't young Master Ian say that all humanoid life in this world isn't intelligent? Just as she finished speaking, Ian interrupted them. Freen is right. These villagers aren't truly intelligent, so there's no need to care about them. Remember what I said, in the MC world, there are no other intelligent beings besides us, so there's no need to show these things any mercy. Stone axe in his hand. Young Master Ian, should we slaughter all these things? As he spoke, Markov, with his one-track mind, wanted to swing the stone axe and chop down the villagers. Ian was shocked and quickly reached out to stop him. Don't move. Anyone who touches my biological batteries will have to answer to me. Chapter 9 Iron Golem Army Idea. Seeing Markov come to a screeching halt, Ian knocked Markov's head in frustration. Don't be so impetuous. These villagers may not be intelligent beings, but we can't be so bloodthirsty. Emphasize harmony. After a pause, Ian said earnestly, these are all high quality biological batteries. Lock them up, and have them keep having children, and use the children to farm, and raise livestock for us. Assign them work, and have them work non-stop 24 hours a day to maximize their value. These villagers are the key to a life of luxury for us, so harmony is paramount. Understand? The others fell into contemplation, and after a long while, Liel forced a smile at Ian. Young Master Ian, this iron lump, is it a special race? Leisha looked at Ian like a curious baby, and the latter nodded. You could say it's a guardian unique to the villagers of the MC world. This thing is very powerful. With our current equipment, if we were touched by it, we would die on the spot. Even in the Rodri continent, this guy could easily beat Liel. Liel frowned immediately, glanced at the iron golem, and only felt that the other party was dull and clumsy, except for the metallic luster on its body. It didn't seem to have anything special about it. Is it that exaggerated? Young Master Ian, Godfather is very strong. Ordinary demons are no match for Godfather. Markov scratched his head and added, even if this thing is made of iron, I can cut iron with my sword, let alone Godfather. Ian curled his lips. I can't really describe it to you. However, as long as you don't attack the villagers or it won't attack proactively. Instead, it will protect us. You'll know later. I can only say this thing is made of 30 to 40 tons of refined iron. Hearing this, Liel and the others fell silent. 30 to 40 tons of refined iron. This wasn't an iron golem. Even the heaviest giants in the southern mountains probably weren't that outrageous. Liel felt a little regretful. Looking at the sturdy iron golem, he sighed. A guardian, but it's a pity that this thing uses too much material. Our Blackwater city can't afford it. I'm afraid even the dwarves can't afford too many of these big guys. Otherwise, bringing it back to Blackwater City would save a lot of trouble. With this iron lump, we wouldn't need so many troops. Ian chuckled and patted Liel's shoulder. It's not a big problem. When we make an iron farm, we can have as many iron golems as we want. You can even form an iron golem army. However, this thing can't replace the army after all. The army still needs to be kept. With that said, Ian looked carefully at the entire village. Even though Liel and the others were very interested in the endless iron Ian mentioned, they didn't disturb him. They surrounded him, waiting quietly for Ian to think. During this time, the others also kept observing the surrounding situation, recalling Ian's various outrageous operations just now. Like a sponge, they constantly absorbed the knowledge Ian imparted to them. Although these things still shocked them from time to time, this surprised and erratic attitude couldn't last forever. Ian didn't bring them here to be cheerleaders. After an unknown amount of time, Ian clapped his hands. Alright, everyone, get moving. Listen to my instructions. Ian didn't plan to continue doing everything himself. He also had to start training Liel and the others. Choosing an open space on the edge of the village, Ian began to instruct. Freen, make a crafting table first. Freen held the oak block Ian handed her, somewhat at a loss. Put the oak block in the 4 squares on the right side of your inventory panel. Did you get 4 oak planks? As soon as the words fell, immediately saw the oak planks in Freen's hand turn into blocks that seemed to have been cut. How amazing. Freen looked at the oak planks in her hand and said in surprise, young Master Ian, I can also perform your miracles. Interesting, everyone, right? Ian smiled and reached out to tap Freen's forehead. Continuing, this is just the beginning. Everyone, remember it carefully. Try synthesizing one by one later. Be sure to remember it. MC World. Immediately afterward, Ian handed the synthesis tables for the furnace. Just basic tools. Torch, ladder, fence, etc. To said, just put it in, and you can make it. Completely violates the laws of nature. Skip the process, and get the result directly. It's hard to imagine that, if such a thing were brought back to Blackwater City, our construction work would probably only be limited by the difficulty of resource acquisition. As soon as the words fell, Liel shook his head with a serious face. No, resource acquisition is not a problem either. The resources here in the Aurora Sky Kingdom are endless. This is a completely UN world. The others exchanged glances. At this moment, they all understood that the hope brought by the MC world was far greater than they had imagined. It was just a scene they didn't dare to imagine even in their dreams. Young Master Ian, can this crafting table be brought back to Blackwater City? Leo pursed his lips and couldn't help but ask. Yes, it can. Ian agreed slightly. Not only the crafting table, but as long as there are blocks with MC world characteristics, they will still have the characteristics of the MC world when brought back to the Rodri continent. Synthesis can also be done in the Rodri continent, as long as there are MC blocks and a crafting table. Before Leo could express his excitement, Ian waved his hand. Let's not talk about this now, it's getting dark, we need to hurry up and work. There are still many things to prepare tonight. Everyone should have memorized the basic synthesis table. If you haven't memorized it, borrow Freen's notes to take a look. Next, Ian glanced at the forest not far from the village, pondered for a moment, and said softly, Markov, take people to chop down trees over there. Chop down as many as you can, bring them back, and put them in the chest. Plant the fallen saplings on the spot. Leisha, take people to continuously make wooden fences and torches. Make at least 5 stacks of torches. Leo, I will ring the bell on the well in the village later. At that time, all the villagers will return to their homes. After they go back, you will take people to enclose the entire village with wooden fences. The wooden fences should be built to layers high. Does everyone understand? The others slightly seriously, but Freen raised her hand anxiously. Young Master Ian, what about me? What do I do? Freen. Ian was silent for a moment and pinched Freen's small face. Stay by my side and be cute. Immediately, Freen turned into a puffer fish again. Are you ready? Ian shouted, and the next moment, he slammed the bell on the well with his stone sword. As the villagers instantly turned into headless flies and scurried around, Ian raised his hand and shouted, Begin. Chapter 10 I'm not good at construction. With Ian's command, Regia and the others immediately began to work with enthusiasm. From initially struggling to make a wooden fence, spending ages thinking about it, slowly, a few minutes later, Regia and the others could assemble things with their eyes closed. Progress was rapid. Of course, this wasn't just because Regia and the others were clever, but also because learning these things in the MC world wasn't difficult at all. As long as you forced yourself to accept the absurd characteristics of the MC world, ignoring unreasonable situations like floating blocks in the sky, understanding the operations of the MC world was still very easy. Making tools in the MC world, to put it bluntly, only had 2 steps. Put the resources into the workbench, and take the tools out of the workbench. Of course, it sounds simple, but when you really see this kind of operation, you'll still be dumbfounded. At this time, you have to rely on the faith of the Dawn God sect, shout a few words of Dawn's blessing, and then everything is reasonable. After observing Regia and the others for a while, seeing that they had skillfully started working, Ian then took Freeney away to inspect the situation of the village. First, he went to the farmland, simply harvested the crops, and then planted the wheat seeds he had collected. While traversing the jungle weren't even enough for the 20 of them to eat, and there were still more than 5,000 people in Blackwater City waiting to be fed. Using crops for composting would be too wasteful. When the iron farm is built in the future, it will be good to use the dropped flowers for composting. Freeney, take note. Standing at the edge of the farmland, Ian suddenly felt a surge of pride. Living current is on track. The fence area needs to be expanded. Freeney hurriedly took out her notebook and quickly recorded, thinking happily in her heart. She knew that Ian wouldn't let her do nothing. Look, he specially brought her by his side to be responsible for such important recording work. I'm the most important nun to young Master Ian. Freeney muttered softly. Ian didn't hear it and led Freeney to the blacksmith shop. Continuing to instruct, it is expected to select a location on the plan 5 large-scale farmlands, and prepare for automation in the future. Similarly, plan 5 large-scale livestock farms, raising chickens, cattle, pigs, sheep, and horses separately, standardizing the breeding of enough meat, and using horses as warhorse reserves for Blackwater City. After the planning of the agricultural and livestock farms is completed, and the iron brushing machine and monster spawning tower are completed, enter the second stage. Take The open space north of the village as the center. Expand outwards. Replace the fence with a city wall. And gradually build the city of Dawn. Leave enough space on the east and west sides. One side is planned as a village trading center, a village breeding area and other industrial areas. Build houses on a large scale on one side to prepare for the subsequent settlement of Dawn God sect believers. Pay close attention. The Dawn City territory plan should build the city wall to the edge of the lake, but not include the lake. At that time, Dawn City must try to ensure the light source placement in every space, and there must be no dark areas. After entering the primary stage of biological technology, the third phase of the Dawn City construction plan will continue to advance. Since he was idle anyway, Ian wandered around the village, taking the good things from the unclaimed boxes in the houses, while instructing Freeney to remember his Dawn City construction plan point. Currently, Ian has decided to build the first base city of the Dawn God sect in the MC world here. Point what he said to Freeney was also the basic industrialization of the living current point in the future. Ian also plans to build a sky platform. The buildings on the ground will be the residences of the Dawn God sect believers, while the sky will be the residential area for Ian and Regia and the other high-level members of the Dawn God sect. Dawn God sect time being, things always can't keep up with changes. When it develops slowly in the future, Ian can reallocate the urban planning of Dawn City according to the current needs. More importantly, Ian is not good at building houses, nor is he good at planning cities. Still depends on whether there are other capable people. But even so, Ian's current arrangement is enough for the Dawn God sect to develop and grow in the MC world. Finally, after emptying all the villagers' boxes in the entire village, Ian also found 9 iron ingots. Not much, but enough. Ian only needs to make an iron bucket, a tripwire hook, and scissors to make a wire brushing machine. The rest is to find a villager with a fisherman profession and spare no effort to brush emeralds. After thinking about it, Ian still gathered all the unemployed villagers into a house, and then inserted torches to ensure sufficient light, and then blocked the door with dirt. No need to put the beds in place for them. Just make sure the villagers don't run around. Finally, the armorers, farmers, and librarians were restricted with blocks. The latest and fastest novels are first published. In this way, this village was simply rectified by Ian. As for where to live tonight, after thinking about it, Ian still exerted his terrible construction talent. When Lael and the others surrounded the entire village with fences and inserted torches in the village, except for the double-layered hut, the watchtower, and the blacksmith shop, the wooden houses were all demolished by Ian. Instead, there were only 2 square houses, guarding the double-layered wooden house in the middle. What is this? Standing in front of the big matchbox, Regia was a little dumbfounded. Young Master Ian said that this will be the first base of our Dawn God sect in the future. Tonight, we will live here. Freeney raised her head proudly. This is the house that young Master Ian made for everyone. House. Lael pondered for a moment, then raised his head and carefully looked at the matchbox in front of him. This thing, from any angle, seems to have nothing to do with a house. Except for the 2 doors, there are no glass windows, and the lighting all depends on the torches stuck on the walls. Looking at it this way, Lael couldn't help but have a bad sense of sight. Put the torches on both sides of the wall, put the beds neatly, and then lie peacefully on the bed. Mortuary. In the end, Lael couldn't help but speak. Ian's old face turned red, and after a moment, he coughed. Conditions are limited. We'll live here for now. We will carry forward the good virtues of hard work and endurance. Regia, you should learn more about house design and make these houses more perfect and beautiful. By then, everyone will just make do with it for a while. Men live in the room on the left, and women live in the room on the right. Regia pursed her lips and looked at Ian with some distress. Young Master Ian, it doesn't matter if we live in this house. At least it can shelter us from the wind and rain. Now we have food, drink, and safety. We are already very satisfied. But, are you going to live so aggrieved? Ian was silent for a moment, then pointed to the double-layered wooden house in the middle of the 2 houses. I live in this. Isn't this a villager's house? He doesn't need it. He told me that his house was voluntarily requisitioned by the Dawn God sect. Lael turned his head and glanced at the 3 professional villagers who were surrounded by Ian with blocks. standing in only one space, with a block on their heads, and torches on both sides. After a long silence, Lael sincerely sighed, "Young Master Ian, you will definitely become an excellent demon king. I mean, a kind and great pope." Chapter 11. Halo. He set up the workbench, furnace, smoker, and other things that could be made right away, and also made several large boxes to store materials in an organized manner. By the time Ian finished all of this and came out, the sky was gradually darkening. Lyra and the others were sitting around a bonfire in front of Ian's house. They were listening to Freya passionately and animatedly introduce Ian's grand-faced plan for the City of Dawn. Several pieces of steak were being grilled on the bonfire. Seeing Ian come out, quickly stood everyone up, but Ian waved his hand to stop them. He casually sat on the ground and joined everyone by the fire. "Only spent half a day in the MC world today. I believe you have already gained some understanding of it. Lyra, what do you think about building a city here and establishing the foundation of our Church of Dawn?" Lyra fell silent, and the firelight of the bonfire made the old butler's silver hair turn golden. After a long while, Lyra let out a long breath, his eyebrows filled with smiles. The wrinkles on his face seemed to be smoothed out by the happy, making him look several years younger mood. "To be honest, young Master Ian, I still haven't convinced myself to accept all of this. Floating blocks in the sky, tools that can be made in the blink of an eye, unique but beautiful scenery, and 2 habitable mortuaries that can be made in a dozen minutes. I mean houses." Lyra smiled awkwardly, then continued, "However, this land of dawn, full of blocks everywhere, is really too dreamy. There is no abyss, no demons, no worries about food and clothing, and no need to worry about survival crises. I think everyone on the entire Rodri continent would yearn for a ticket to the land of dawn. Therefore, I will definitely support your plan to build the headquarters of the Church of Dawn here, young Master Ian. If possible, I would even like you to live here forever. You understand better how to live well here, and you will not be in any danger here." Speaking of this, Lyra paused, and his eyes suddenly became a little dim. "At least, if you don't return to the Rodri continent, you won't be like the old master. The great bloodline of the Forbes family can also be preserved." Hearing this, Ian sighed. "If possible, I also don't want to return to the Rodri continent. We can live here together and have a good and comfortable life." But Ian didn't continue, but Rezha understood with a tender expression. "Young Master Ian is compassionate and kind, and cannot bear to see the people of the Rodri continent continue to be trapped under the shadow of the demons. We can understand. After all, you are. In short, we will fully support whatever young Master Ian does. With you here, the Rodri continent will definitely be able to get rid of the demons." As she spoke, Rezha's gaze suddenly became determined and fanatical. "The entire Rodri continent should offer its faith to you." Ian smiled politely and awkwardly. To be honest, he didn't have such a saintly heart. If the MC World Gate didn't require the development of territorial civilization to issue rewards, Ian would have already immigrated to the MC World with Rezha and the others. The turmoil in Rodri would have nothing to do with them. Living comfortably in the MC World, how great would that be? But Ian had no choice. The MC World Gate was still in his bedroom in the Blackwater City Lord's mansion. "Ian, everyone fully supports your ideas," Lyra said seriously. "You said you want to build a city, then we will build a city. Moreover, it is also good to have a retreat in the land of dawn. But we only have 20 people at most, and only you are most familiar with this place. Isn't it too exaggerated to build a city with so few people?" Hearing this, Ian suddenly smiled, without answering directly, but pointed to the 2 big houses behind him, and then pointed to the wooden fence. "Lyra, how much time did we spend building these?" Lyra was silent. After a long while, his eyes were full of emotion as he said, "I understand, young Master Ian. The land of dawn is naturally different from the Rodri continent. This is simply a world that all living beings dream of. I have never thought about it in all my years. Building a territory will one day be so simple. Picking up a block and placing it on the ground to build it. With this feature, 20 of us are indeed enough." Rezha looked proud. Not only that, young Master Ian also said that the blocks of the Land of Dawn can also be used in the Rodri continent. In this way, it will be very simple to build our Blackwater city. It is truly the unique and great paradise of our Church of Dawn. Hearing them call it paradise and land of dawn over and over again, Ian felt a little worried. The magic of the MC world was deeply rooted in peoples, but because it was too magical, now no one was willing to call the MC world by its real name. Perhaps Regia and the others felt that this name could not reflect the magical awesomeness of the MC world. If this continues, won't he be the only one left who remembers what the MC world is called in the future? The latest and fastest novel is first published. Young Master Ian, can I make a suggestion? Suddenly, Markov weakly raised his hand. Seeing Ian nod, Markov pointed to the house behind him right in front of young Master Ian. Regia immediately became anxious and quickly pulled Ian's hand out, looking at it carefully and blowing on it with distress, but after looking for a long time, she still couldn't find any signs of burns. See, Ian said with a smile, all the items in the MC world cannot be judged by common sense. For example, torches, although they are called torches, do not have the high temperature of flames. Even if you throw this torch into the firewood, it still won't light. Moreover, the most special thing about the MC world torch is that this thing never goes out. It is a genuine nuclear powered torch. Hearing this, Lyra said in surprise, never goes out? After speaking, Lyra took out a torch and blew on it hard, but the torch didn't change at all. It's true. Lyra was overjoyed, his eyes flashing. In this way, we can also replace all the torches in the Blackwater City Lord's mansion with this kind of torch. The characteristics of the Land of Dawn are truly too magical to be described a million times. Ian slightly and said with a light smile, you will see more magical features in the future. This is just the beginning. I believe that the MC world will change everything on the Rodri continent through our Church of Dawn. The Church of Dawn will surely be great along with the MC world. And, Regia, touching stop. Ian pulled his hand out unhappily. Regia turned her gaze to the other side with a red face, her eyes still showing some regret. Young Master Ian, what are we going to do next? Lyra looked at Ian with great interest. Since the Land of Dawn is so magical, we must work against the clock. What other plans do you need us to do? We are not sleepy at all. Ian raised his eyes, looking at the sun that had completely sunk below the mountains on the horizon, and looking at the twinkling stars in the sky. Wait for a battle. Battle? Lyra and the others were stunned for a moment, looking at Ian with some confusion. Will there also be battles in the Land of Dawn? Of course. As soon as he finished speaking, a strangely unpleasant roar sounded in the wilderness. Ian raised his eyebrows, stood up with his hands behind his back, and looked at the dark earth outside the fence. Next moment, roars, bone friction sounds, hissing sounds. It seemed to put Ian and the others in a surrounded situation. Chapter 12. I also have the qualifications of an awesome knight. Undead Scourge. Leil's expression changed drastically. He immediately drew his great sword and stood in front of Ian, shielding him firmly behind him. Protect young Master Ian. As soon as the words fell, the knights, including Markov, all drew their weapons, forming a circular impenetrable encirclement around Ian. Inside, the maids, Regia and Freya, hugged Ian tightly from either side. The whole process was extremely well practiced. There are many of them. Markov's eyes were sharp as a hawk, staring straight at the wriggling shadows in the darkness behind the fence in front of him. A drop of cold sweat trickled down his temple, but his hand holding the sword was as steady as ever. Regia, if anything happens, take young Master Ian and escape immediately. Leil whispered a word of caution. Ian was the only remaining heir of the Forbes family. No matter what, the Forbes family bloodline could not be broken. Looking at the shadows gradually approaching with howls in the darkness, Leil couldn't help but recall the days when he and old Forbes were trapped by demons and fought side by side. Why does the Aurora Heavenly Kingdom also have these damned demons? Regia hugged Ian's arm tightly, looking around warily. Could it be that the damned demons have also discovered the Aurora Heavenly Kingdom? No, they really aren't demons. Ian gently pulled out his arm and pushed aside Regia and the others. Young Master Ian. Danger. Leil immediately pressed on Ian's shoulder, wanting to push him back, but in the next moment, Leil was shocked by Ian's strength. Even though he tried his best, he couldn't stop Ian's steps at all. Don't worry. Ian smiled and glanced at everyone. I told you, these aren't demons. There are no demons in the MC world. These are all unique monsters of the MC world. You can rest assured that nothing can enter the MC world without my permission. Remember what I told you before. Everyone was stunned for a moment. Ian continued, all life in the MC world is unintelligent. Even these monsters don't have the intelligence of demons. They only have rigid programs. The reason I asked you to plant torches everywhere before was also to prevent the birth of such monsters in the darkness. Zombies approaching the fence. They really didn't look as ferocious and exuded a bloodthirsty aura like demons. Overall, they even looked a bit cute. However, this didn't mean they weren't a threat. No matter how you looked at it, this group of monsters wanted to eat them alive. Even so, young Master Ian. Before the Isle could finish speaking, Ian continued to reassure him, don't worry, don't be so nervous. After saying that, Ian pointed to the sky and joked, even if there are many of these monsters, have you forgotten that we can build floating stone pillars at any time and fly into the sky? What's more, when the sun rises tomorrow, these undead creatures will burn to death. As soon as he finished speaking, a green zombie crashed into the fence with a bang. Regia and the others were immediately startled. Ian still didn't even turn his head. Without loading special mods, these zombies could only destroy doors at most. But the village was surrounded by fences, and there wasn't even a fence door. These zombies would die of exhaustion before they could break in. As the first zombie crashed into the fence, more and more zombie monsters surrounded them. They stretched out their hands and made mechanical howls across the fence, but the surrounding fences remained unmoved. Everyone didn't dare to breathe loudly, nervously watching the zombies outside the fence and the other monsters mixed in with the zombie horde. Ian didn't continue to waste his breath. The Rodri continent had been ravaged by demons for hundreds of years, and people already had PTSD from them. Saying 10,000 words wouldn't have much effect. It was better to let them see for themselves for a long time, then nodded. Recalling the various demons she had seen on the Rodri continent, and comparing them to these in front of her. They are a bit cuter than demons, at least they don't drool. Do you believe me now? Ian smiled and spread his hands. These monsters aren't demons, they don't have intelligence, and they can't get in. What's more, even if they do get in, we are very safe. Look over there. Following the direction Ian pointed, everyone turned their heads to look. Immediately, the knights, including Markov, couldn't help but gasp. Gradually, their eyes became extremely excited. In a corner of the fence, the iron golem stood tall like an undefeated god of war. Any zombies that approached were easily sent flying far, far away with a single punch. After 2 punches, basically all the zombies, except for some wearing special equipment, died on the spot. The iron golem's behavior was still rigid. Its attacks were just the 2 arms thrusting upwards repeatedly. To put it bluntly, knights like Markov could see countless fatal flaws in the iron golem at a glance. But it was this rigid iron golem that gave Leal and the others a great sense of security at this moment, surrounded by monsters in the dark night. He's simply a god of war. Markov clenched his fists excitedly and praised, looking up at the iron golem in admiration. This kind of domineering aura of being able to hold off 10,000 enemies was the style of a great general that Markov had dreamed of. Too strong. Leal was shocked beyond words, especially when he secretly approached the edge of the fence and tentatively attacked the zombies across the fence with a stone sword. He used all his special force techniques, but after 4 or 5 strikes, the zombies still didn't die. Then look at the iron golem, 1 punch for each little friend. In an instant, Leal's desire to build an iron golem army began to grow wildly. If the Aurora Divine Church builds 100 iron golem army, even a common demon abyss can be slaughtered back and forth. Leal quietly clenched his fists, his eyes a-ring with uncertainty. While the iron golem brought a strong sense of security to Flick, Markov and the others also began to carefully observe the behavior of the zombies, and even approached the fence to attack the zombies harmlessly. After all, even the undead of the demon race wouldn't stand there stupidly and let people chop them. More importantly, these zombies were much cuter than those demons. After watching for a while, Regia and the others even thought that, if all demons looked like this, perhaps there wouldn't be so many deserters who were afraid of fighting before the war when the 100 Clan Alliance fought against the demons. They're so stupid. Freya didn't know when she stood in front of the fence, watching the zombies stretching out their arms and roaring non-stop, but unable to advance an inch. The more she watched, the more brilliantly Freya smiled. Especially after Freya tried to kill a zombie with a stone sword. There was no longer a trace of fear of zombie monsters in Freya's eyes. After brewing for a long time, Freya proudly raised her head and looked at Ian. Young Master Ian, I also have the qualifications of an awesome knight. Chapter 13 Earth Style, Dig 3, Fill 1 Technique. The moment the words left his mouth, Freya received a light smack on her head from Ian. Little girls shouldn't use foul language. Freya, the genius with the potential of a great knight, immediately clutched her head, glaring at Ian with a resentful look, roaring point, especially watching the green zombies move as they moved, staring at them longingly, yet unable to cross the fence. Many maids even whispered that these things were somewhat ugly cute. If the monsters within the Aurora Kingdom are all like this, then it's indeed not particularly dangerous. After observing for a long time, Leo made this judgment, but still didn't lower his guard. He gripped his stone sword tightly, beside standing Ian. Markov in agreement. If the demons of the Rodri continent were as stupid as the monsters of the Aurora Kingdom, we would have driven them back to the abyss long ago. Ian smiled and said nothing compared to the sound-sensitive guardians. Ian would rather say that demons were harmless. To put it bluntly, these zombies were nothing compared to. Alright, last task regarding the MC world tonight. To recognize and kill some monsters. Drawing his stone sword, Ian pointed at the zombies outside the fence. As you can see, these monsters are very dumb and not very threatening, but that's because we are currently inside the safe village. If we were in the wild, in the night of the MC world, these monsters that emerge endlessly from the darkness would still be very troublesome. Next, I will tell you how to spend the night in the wild, and how to identify some basic monsters in the MC world. Is full of enthusiasm and freshness for everything. He needed to quickly tell them some basic monster knowledge, lest some simpletons with missing brain cells rush up to a creeper when they encounter one. Markov. Ian shouted loudly. Come back. Watching Markov, wielding his stone sword, rush straight towards a creeper, Ian had a headache. The thing he was worried about almost became a reality in the blink of an eye. Young Master Ian, do you have any instructions? Markov ran back to Ian excitedly. Ian said unhappily, don't rush up to any monster you see. The monsters in the MC world are diverse. In unfamiliar situations, it's easy to die. Do you even know what that thing is before you rush at it? That's a creeper. It explodes. The explosive power is stronger than a volcano smell. It will turn you into dust in minutes. Hearing this, Leo raised his hand and slapped Markov on the head. He said angrily, idiot. Have you forgotten everything I taught you before? When facing an unknown enemy, you must know yourself and your enemy. It doesn't matter if you die, but what if you blow up the fence and let the monsters in? Markov shrank his head sheepishly, staying obediently beside Ian. The others also took a few steps back, leaving the fence area. Okay, take notes. Ian instructed. The most basic monsters in the MC world are zombies, mainly ordinary zombies. Zombies wearing armor or equipment. Hasn't learned the way of the night can easily handle them with MC world weapons. Baby zombies are the most dangerous zombies. They are agile, attack quickly and fiercely, and are best resisted with a shield. Of course, making good use of the characteristics of the MC world is the most important thing, such as attacking zombies through the fence. So, if we encounter a large number of zombies, we can also do this. As he spoke, Ian took out a block and stacked it under his feet. In the blink of an eye, he stood on top of a stone pillar. Now, the zombies can't attack us, or you can choose to surround the zombies with blocks. Ian thought for a while, jumped off the pillar, and pointed at Markov. Come. Markov, come and catch me, young Master Ian. I'll do it. Reckless, simple-minded Gar lesson point Laksha glared fiercely at Markov. Me. If you catch me, I'll let you heavy game with young Master Ian. Young Master Ian, be careful. Markov grinned, and with a sudden step, his strong figure rushed over like a black bear. Ouch. The next moment, Markov cried out, and fell face first into the dirt. After getting up, he rubbed his knees with a grimace, looking back incredulously at the block that suddenly appeared on the ground. Where did this thing come from? Continue. Don't you like to charge, Ian? looked at Markov with a smile. "I'll let you charge enough today." Markov didn't believe it, so the following time turned into a Markov-style wrestling show. 1 second he got up, the next second he charged headfirst into a wall that suddenly appeared. As soon as he turned his head, he tripped over a stone, excitedly wrapped his arms around him. "I caught you, young Master Ian." The next moment, Markov only hugged a pillar that rose from the ground. Before he could recover, the dense sound of blocks stacking up rang out from all directions and a stand. Ian smiled and jumped off the pillar. "As long as you have blocks, you can do this too. Practice more and learn more. With the blessing of MC World, blocks is a magician." "Yes, young Master Ian. But..." Laksha raised her hand in response, then pointed to the big coffin behind Ian. "Suffocate." "No, this is the second way I'm going to teach you how to spend the night safely in the wild." Ian looked back at the silent wooden stake. Markov was also stupid. He had been chopping trees all day, and now he was blocked by wood, but he didn't know to chop it open with an axe. Shaking his head, Ian personally released him. Raising his hand to stop Markov's endless praise, Ian took out a shovel. "If you are in the wild and cannot return to base before dark, and a large number of monsters have spawned, then you can use this trick. Earth style, dig 3, fill 1 technique." The next moment, in full view, Ian drilled into the ground like a spiral drilling machine, swinging his shovel. Finally, he filled the ground with a block of dirt. In less than 5 seconds, Ian, a living person, disappeared before everyone's eyes. Chapter 14. When did the MC world ever make sense? Half a day later, the group finally reacted and anxiously ran to the spot where Ian had dug down. Although Ian had demonstrated his talent for digging holes when they first arrived today, he hadn't blocked the entrance before. Now that it was blocked, the air couldn't circulate. Wouldn't Ian suffocate to death? "Dig faster," Leisure urged everyone anxiously, not even waiting for Markov to take out his shovel. The ground in front of them was excavated again, and Ian jumped out, standing on his tiptoes. "How about it? This move is flawless, right?" Ian stood with his hands on his hips, grinning. "If you encounter a group of monsters, just use the dig 3, fill 1 trick, stay quietly for a night, or continue digging downwards." Leisure hurriedly stepped forward and felt around Ian, seemingly patting off dust, but actually taking the opportunity to touch him. After all, she knew that digging holes in the MC world wouldn't make you dirty. "Young Master Ian, won't you have trouble breathing if you block the hole from the inside?" Lael looked at Ian blankly, who pried Leisure's hand away, and said, blocking frankly, "What's unreasonable about it? Do you think the MC world is a world that makes sense?" Lael was speechless. Ian put away his tools and led the group slightly closer to the edge of the fence. "Back to the topic. What I just told you are some small tricks for dealing with monsters. They're simple and universal, and they're for most monsters. Besides that, there are some advanced techniques, such as trapping monsters with boats, etc. I'll demonstrate them to you when I have the chance. Next, we are going to talk about some special monsters." Ian figured that the MC world he was in was probably effective mode that exceeded the difficulty of hardpoint. The monsters surrounding the village were probably in the hundreds, but because of this, there were all kinds of monsters: zombies, skeletons, creepers, spiders, slimes, witches. Basically, the monsters that are easy to encounter in the overworld can all be seen here. Therefore, this monster knowledge lesson was still very comprehensive. After more than an hour, Lael and the others had a better understanding and knowledge of the MC world. While understanding that this world was not absolutely safe, they also mastered a lot of theoretical knowledge for dealing with monsters. To be honest, in Lael's opinion, these monsters weren't very powerful. The key was that they had no intelligence, and after mastering some of the characteristics of the MC world, the monsters were also easy to deal with, at least compared to the insidious and cunning and strangely powerful demon race. These monsters were quite interesting, especially after learning that many monsters would drop useful and important material resources. Lael and the others' eyes were glowing green when they looked at the monsters. Not to mention, the gunpowder dropped by creepers could be used to make the so-called TNT, which, according to young Master Ian, could explode. The power was uncertain, but Lael felt that it wouldn't be weaker than a volcano snail, right? If they made a large amount and threw it into the demon territory, wouldn't that be wonderful? And those skeleton archers, although Lael didn't know why young Master Ian called them skeletons so lovingly, but Lael felt that this thing was indeed a very precious little monster. It was said that killing skeletons could drop finished arrows and bones, which, in Lael's opinion, was amazing. With the craftsmanship of the Rodri continent, especially the human race, bows and arrows, such rare-ranged weapons, were very scarce. The technology for mass-producing bows and arrows was only available to the elves and dwarves, but it was their secret. If they could kill a large number of skeletons, arrows would no longer be a problem, and Blackwater City could train enough archers. However, after Lael said his thoughts, Ian just waved his hand dismissively. It seemed that he wasn't interested in arrows, but rather in the bones. Lael didn't understand, but young Master Ian must have his own logic. In addition to that, there were also witches, slimes, spiders, and other monsters. Ian said some things, but Lael and the others didn't understand what alchemy potions were, or what the all-purpose slime ball was. The barren Rodri continent them with sticks. But in the MC world, they became treasures? Lael didn't understand, but it didn't stop him from thinking these monsters were great. Thinking about those demons, their corpses would turn into plagues and pollute the land after death. How could they be as good as these monsters, which could drop treasures to be used after death? These weren't monsters, they were philanthropists. If Ian hadn't said that there were too many monsters, and it wasn't suitable to be rash, and that when it was dawn, a large number of undead creatures would be incinerated, and they could pick up ready-made resources, then Lael would have risked going out to harvest a wave of resources. With the iron golem in the village, he wasn't too worried about Ian's safety. While thinking, Lael suddenly sensed a sense of crisis. A glance out of the corner of his eye revealed an arrow flying towards Ian at high speed. Young Master Ian. Lael immediately lunged forward, but he was too far away and couldn't make it in time. But Markov took a step forward and blocked the arrow for Ian with his body. The newest novels are first published here. Protect young Master Ian. Lael didn't have time to care about Markov. Ian, how are you? Anxiously. The latter frowned slightly and shook his head. I'm fine. Markov is the one who's injured. Lael carefully observed Ian and breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that he was indeed okay. Then he hurriedly helped Markov, who had been shot by an arrow, up. With just one glance, Lael's pupils shrank and a trace of grief flashed across his face. This arrow had pierced Markov's heart without deviation. It looked like it was about to pass through his chest. Markov, he knew very well that this arrow had pierced his heart. He wasn't some strange person whose heart happened to be on the right side, so he knew very well that he couldn't survive. It's a pity I haven't been able to follow young Master Ian to witness the rise of the Church of the Dawn. Godfather, you must protect young Master Ian. Markov held Lael's hand tightly and smiled reluctantly. Please bury me in the Kingdom of Dawn, Markov. Lael wanted to encourage Markov to persevere, but he knew that these words were useless. With his heart pierced, even a knight like him couldn't survive. Although his adopted son was a bit simple-minded and rash, seeing Ian leading to the MC world, about to officially lead the Church of the Dawn and the Forbes family to rise, Markov, however, fell in the last second before dawn. Leisure and the others also lowered their heads, sadly looking at Markov driven out of Sunderland City. They had relied on each other to come here. In the end, they were all one family. Leisure and the others couldn't help but feel sorrow. Inside the village, weak but continuous sobs rang out for a while. But after a long time, Markov suddenly opened his eyes, scratching his head with a blank expression. Why am I still not dead? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15. Can you survive with a broken heart? Ghost. Markov's sudden opening of his eyes startled Freeney and the others. Especially Freeney, the little one immediately teared up and hid behind Ian. Not to mention Freeney, even Lear was taken aback and threw Markov away. He quickly drew his stone sword and stood in front of Ian. Markov fell on his butt, grimaced, and got up, rubbing him behind. Coupled with his blood-soaked appearance and an arrow sticking out of his chest, he looked even more frightening. Many knights immediately drew their weapons and surrounded Markov. "Who are you?" Leah stared at Markov with a gloomy face. "Necromancer hiding your head and showing your tail. Come out. Fooling with Markov's corpse. I will tear you to pieces." Corpse? Markov was stunned for a moment, looked down, and immediately realized that Leah had misunderstood. "No, Godfather, I'm not dead yet. You're talking nonsense." Leah was even more angry. His figure was like the wind, and the stone sword was already on Markov's neck. "How can you live with your heart pierced? A mere necromancer. Do you think I will be merciful just because you are manipulating Markov's corpse? Even if Markov is alive in heaven, knowing that he is being controlled and may harm young Master Ian, he would support me in killing him again." Markov froze in place, looking innocent, and said, "Although that's what I was thinking, but, Godfather, I'm really not dead. Look. Lively and kicking. Look at my wound. It's still bleeding." Leah was furious and swung his stone sword. "Bastard." Seeing that the stone sword was about to fall, Ian hurriedly said, "Don't chop. Don't chop. He is really Markov. Didn't I say that there are no necromancers in the MC world?" The stone sword stopped on Markov's neck, and Leah looked back at Ian with a dazed expression. Then he turned his head and looked at Markov. Leah's stone sword away. Leah frowned and pondered for a long time, then said in a deep voice, "How old were you the last time you wet the bed?" "Ah. Godfather, is that necessary? Speak." Leah's stone sword got closer. Markov lowered his head, and after a long while, he said weakly, 16. "It's Markov, no doubt about it." Markov with a look of surprise. "How is it possible that an arrow pierced your heart, and you're still not dead? Could it be that you have reached the strength of the old master?" Markov glanced at Rezha and the others, raised his head, and looked at the sky. The rough man, who was over 1.9 meters young Master Ian, is this also a reasonable aspect of the Aurora Heavenly Kingdom? Ian stepped forward and patted Markov on the shoulder with a smile. Although he would be fine if he had been hit by that arrow just now. But Ian was still very touched that Markov protected him with his life. "Don't worry, Markov can't die. This can also be regarded as a characteristic of the MC world, or a physical talent of mine. Die. You have shared 1/3 of my physical talent in the MC world, so you naturally have this characteristic. So, the heart is not Markov's weakness, and he won't die if it's pierced, although the damage of the skeleton minion is not low. It does not meet the requirements for instant death, so Markov is fine. At most, it's just a little pain." Leah was silent for a long time, looking at Ian, then at Markov. After a long while, he couldn't help but curse for the second time in the MC world. "What the hell is this logic? How can you not die if your heart is broken? Are we still human?" "Of course." Ian glared at Leah dissatisfied. "What's wrong? Aren't square people human too, young Master Ian? So Markov won't die." Rezha stepped forward incredulously, thought about it, and couldn't help but poke the arrow in Markov's chest. "It hurts, Chief Maid Rezha." Markov took a step back, grimacing. "That's amazing." Rezha looked shocked. "That is to say, as long as we are in the Aurora Heavenly Kingdom now, even if our heart is pierced, as long as it is not instant death damage, we will still not die." Ian nodded and smiled. "Not only the heart, even if you break your arm or leg in battle, it will recover." As soon as he finished speaking, Markov picked up his knife without saying a word, and was about to slash his hand to see if it could grow back. Ian rolled his eyes. "There will be opportunities for you to try later. I said that piercing the heart is not a fatal injury. It doesn't mean that you can still live. If you get injured now, open your backpack interface and see how many little hearts are left under your character interface." Hearing this, Markov quickly opened it, took a look, and replied, "There are 3 left. It seems that it is a problem with the physical sharing value. After all, even in difficult mode, the damage of the skeleton minion is not so high." Ian patted Markov on the shoulder and smiled. "As long as the little heart on the character interface does not return to 0, you will not die, no matter how badly you are injured. Remember? Remember." Ouch. Before he finished speaking, Markov immediately covered his chest and jumped up. Ian had already pulled out the arrow from his chest, and in an instant, the arrow disappeared without a trace. The skeleton minion's arrow cannot be picked up without opening. The command code has not changed, isn't he still jumping around here after his heart is broken? Leah looked at Markov, who was jumping up and down because of the pain, with a dazed expression. This is a characteristic of the MC world, just get used to it. Trees can fly in the sky. Is it strange that you can live with a broken heart? Ian spread his hands and took a few ribs from the campfire and handed them to Markov. Eat this. After your satiety is full, the damage you receive will recover within a few minutes. Even if your heart is broken and your head is shot by an arrow, as long as you have satiety and a little heart, you can recover. Markov rubbed his chest, grimacing, took the ribs that Ian handed over, and took a big bite. Just now, he really felt hungry. Everyone held their breath and watched Markov quietly. After he finished eating the ribs, the wound on his chest completely recovered in full view. Leah stepped forward unbelievingly and tore open Markov's clothes. It's really healed. This is too incredible. Leah muttered blankly, and Markov subconsciously opened the personal interface. Young Master Ian, the little heart is full again, and the satiety is also full. Am I okay? Ian nodded slightly and smiled. You are healthier now than before the injury. Your heart has been completely restored. Don't worry, there is nothing wrong. Without saying a word, Markov lay on the ground and did a few push-ups. After a while, he jumped up and hugged Leah excitedly. Godfather, it's really healed. It's all healed. I don't have to die. Unreasonable. Too unreasonable. Leah was still stunned in place, muttering to himself with dull eyes. Even the healing magic of the elves can't do this, right? The world of the Aurora Heavenly Kingdom, how can it not talk about basic laws at all? Although Markov's recovery is something to be happy about, but being able to live and recover with a broken heart is too shocking for Leah. He only felt that he had lived his whole life in vain, as expected of the great Aurora Heavenly Kingdom. Rezha and the others sincerely praised, and when they thought that they were members of the Aurora God sect and were the first believers to step into this place point, they couldn't help but feel proud on their faces. Young Master Ian, why is this happening? A master again, without this diamond drill, how could I be the Pope of the Aurora God sect? Chapter 16 His Holiness the Pope's Prestige Project. Ian had thought that next would be another lengthy discussion, with asking him why things had turned out this way. Unexpectedly, Rezha and the others thoughtfully pondered for a moment, and then nodded in deep agreement. And just like that, this matter became an unquestionable truth. Although he didn't understand why, Ian was spared a lot of effort. However, in a corner of his vision, that Ian didn't notice, as the great god of dawn, it's only natural that young Master Ian has something miraculous. Rezha and the others looked at Ian with reverence, this thought simultaneously arising in their minds. Young Master Ian, I have an idea. Suddenly, Leah raised his hand, looking at Ian with a fervent gaze. Ian naturally understood what Leah was about to say, and nodded with a light smile. You can. This was originally what I was going to tell you all. In the future, if you are injured, just come to the MC world, as long as you don't die on the spot, no matter how serious the injury is. After a good meal, you'll be as good as new. Leah nodded repeatedly with a look of joy. Yes, young Master Ian. This way, our survival rate against the demons or the monsters of the Dawn Heaven will be greatly increased. Perhaps, in the future, as the Dawn Divine Church grows stronger, it might even be able to rely on the unique characteristics of the Great Dawn Heaven to create miracles, making believers even more devout. Soon as he finished speaking, before Ian could praise Leah's wisdom, Freen immediately jumped out with a displeased expression. Butler Leah, watch your words. What do you mean by creating miracles? Anyone? Saying this, Leah secretly glanced at Ian and said earnestly, only devout believers are qualified to pay homage to the Great Dawn. Dawn Eternal. Seeing the people around him spontaneously clasping their hands together in murmured prayer, Ian also felt somewhat gratified. The Dawn Divine Church was finally becoming more and more like something. Although the overall look of it was still like a gang. Leah stood at the edge of the fence, holding a stone axe. Markov raised the stone sword in his hand high. Father, come on. I have now been resurrected. Simple-minded? What was this child going to do in the future? Fortunately, young Master Ian said that Markov's simple-mindedness wasn't hereditary because he couldn't find a partner. Leah sighed, feeling melancholy for Markov's future. Removing a gap in the fence large enough for a zombie to walk through, Leah quickly retreated. He and the other knights then used the construction techniques taught by Ian to expand a small fenced area. Seeing that he had already let in a dozen zombies and skeletons and other monsters, Leah hurriedly closed the gap. One by one. Markov, you start first. After doing all this, Leah stood to the side, watching intently. Ian himself didn't intend to have them deal with zombies and the like. After all, these things would be burned to death. As soon as it was dawn, zombies would die during the day, and the spiders would also be easy to clean up. Basically, Ian felt that after a comfortable sleep, he could make a monster spawner. However, Leah didn't think so. Knowing that as long as one didn't die directly in the MC world, missing arms and legs could be restored by eating, Leah immediately proposed to train the knights through battle. In his words, this was the perfect place to train soldiers wait to die instead of practicing knighthood with all your might. Perhaps, Leah himself also felt that Ian had done a lot of things all day today, and they didn't have much of a sense of presence, so Leah felt uncomfortable. Taking advantage of the fact that, as long as one didn't die directly in the MC world, injuries could be quickly recovered, Leah didn't have to worry too much. He could completely use cramming education to make the knights of the Forbes family, who were also the only 10 knights of the Dawn Divine Church, become stronger as soon as possible. Blackwater City wasn't exactly safe compared to the demons. Although the strength of the many monsters here was powerful, their movements were clumsy and traceable. Plus, sharing Ian's physique made them easier to deal with. Ian also taught them many MC World combat techniques, making full preparations. One by one, there was no danger. If all else failed, the Iron Golem could be released to hold the fort. Accompanied by Regia and the others, Ian stood not far away, looking out. Noticing that Leah and the others were gradually getting better after the initial chaos, Ian also felt relieved. He went and told Leah again, telling him to pay special attention to witches and creepers, and then turned around and returned to his 2-story wooden house. Picking and choosing, he put some tools and equipment in the box, and Ian looked at the somewhat simple decoration. Strictly speaking, it couldn't even be called decoration. The podium and bookshelves left by the previous homeowner, a few glass windows, a wooden box speedrunning players value the least had become Ian's biggest concern. This kind of house was only good for a noon nap, because living in it in the morning and evening would make you want to hang yourself. After thinking about it, he took out a notebook and wrote it down. Afterward, he would focus on selecting some believers who understood construction planning to bring in. His Holiness the Pope's private residence and church were the most important prestige projects. After thinking about these things, Ian jumped up and threw himself on the bed. Obviously, after the bed in the MC world was transformed into a real existence, it retained the characteristic of saving the respawn point, but it didn't retain the characteristic of time travel when you lay on it. But there was one characteristic that Ian liked very much. This thing induced sleep. This sleep was the most comfortable sleep Ian had had since the Forbes family had an accident. There were no dreams. All the memories were stuck on the moment when he was lying peacefully on the bed. When he opened his eyes again, it was broad daylight. Dumbfounded. The fence was still there, intact. Leah and the others were also sitting by the campfire, eating breakfast and chatting happily, each of them also unharmed. But the ground was full of dark, bottomless vertical tunnels. The Dawn Village, which was still flat and spacious before he went to sleep last night, had now become a hornet's nest. Ian only felt the veins on his forehead throbbing again. Chapter 17. The string generator is complete. Young Master Ian, you're awake. In the end, it was Leisha who noticed Ian first, and she hurried over with toiletries, ready to help him get cleaned up. But Ian raised his hand to stop Leisha, pointing at the ground with a dark expression. Young Master. Then why didn't you backfill it? Do we need to fill it in? Looking at Leah's blank expression, Ian sighed. This place will be the first base of our Church of the Dawn in the future, and we will be using it for a long time, so pay attention to environmental protection. Hearing this, Lear quickly called Markov and the others to fill in the pits all over the place. Ian also washed and ate under the care of maids like Leisure and Freya. Having just arrived on the Rodri continent, he was not used to this aristocratic life of having his clothes put on and food served. But it must be said that Ian obviously did not have a firm anti-corruption will. Take eating as an example. The mental state of being fed by a beautiful girl is vastly different from eating on your own. By the time Ian was full, Lear and the others had filled in the big pits. The village on the plain returned to its flat and wide state of yesterday. Young Master Ian, the materials dropped by the monsters that Butler Lear and the others killed last night have all been sorted and packed. Freya held a small notebook, looking at Ian with a face full of anticipation for praise. I sorted them according to the method you taught me for making boxes, young master. Ian glanced at the several large boxes neatly placed not far away, then rubbed Freya's head. Great job, Freya. You are gradually becoming familiar with the survival rules of the MC world. Freya proudly raised her head, glancing at Leisha with a smug look in her small eyes. Also, the strings you wanted, young Master Ian, are all in that box. Hearing this, Ian quickly stepped forward and opened each box to check. It could be seen that Lear and the others must not have slept all night. There were 7 or 8 stacks of rotten flesh dropped by the zombies alone. It was estimated that they went on a killing spree. However, this thing is not very useful except for feeding dogs. At most, it can be brought back to the Rodri continent to see if it has other uses. But in addition to the rotten flesh, there was also a stack and a half of bones, some enchanted equipment carried by the zombies, and some slime balls. Besides that, there were various useful, but not very useful materials. Some of the more valuable items, such as gunpowder from creepers, were not there. Lear and the others listened to Ian very well. They resolutely did not meet with creepers. Forget it. Move all the other materials, except the rotten flesh, to my room, sorted by category. Then said, also, young Master Ian, there were some special circumstances last night. Special circumstances? That's right. Lear pursed his lips, a hint of amazement appearing in his eyes. We encountered a zombie riding a chicken. It was quite fast. Although it was small, it almost killed Markov. Time, he said quietly. You have horses, but you insist on riding chickens? Are you going to play basketball? What is basketball? Ian waved his hand. Never mind. This is normal. It's good that people are okay. Pay attention in the future. Small zombies just run fast. If you encounter them, use the stepping stones I taught you to trap them. How was your rest last night? Leisure approached Ian. Heaven seems to be very special. As long as you lie on them, you can immediately enter deep sleep, and your energy recovers quickly. Can we bring some beds from the Dawn Heaven back? Ian nodded and said, yes, there should be a lot of wool left. You also know the crafting recipe. Go and make it yourself. Alright, today's work is about to begin. Today's work is more important. Get moving. With that, Ian took out the tools he had prepared yesterday and began to instruct everyone. Markov, take this iron bucket to the lake to fetch water. Make several trips and dig a small pond in the village. Fill it with water using the iron bucket. Lear, take people to open a gap in the fence and install a door so that everyone can enter and exit easily. Remember to block it again with fences or blocks at night. Otherwise, the zombies will break down the door. Everyone else, go around and collect resources, wood, food, saplings. Leisure, take this hoe and take people to plow the fields. Dig small pits at intervals. This is the field construction diagram. Just plow according to this. Everyone get moving. Everyone who had eaten their fill had a good spirit. Even Lear and the others who hadn't slept all night didn't feel tired. Soon, they entered the working state. Ian went to the workbench to make the tripwire hooks necessary for the string generator. He also took all the materials for making the string generator and began to choose a location in the village. String generator has evolved to a very magical stage. But the string generator that Ian knows is the kind that is more troublesome to make in the early stages. Build a convex shaped building 3 blocks high with blocks. Temporarily place a few blocks at a height of 3 blocks and place 2 trapdoors, and the trapdoors must be placed facing the temporary blocks. After opening the trapdoors, you can remove the temporary blocks. Below, build a 1 block high barrier block that surrounds the convex shape. After doing all this, Markov also came back with water. Pour water in the middle of the 2 trapdoors and the blocks. In this way, the preliminary form framework is successful. Seeing that Markov was still curiously watching him build, Ian urged Markov to continue fetching water. Freya has a certain construction talent, at least she can copy it. Markov just be an honest knight. Things that require brain power are not suitable for him. After doing all this, Ian placed the tripwire hooks on the blocks at the block height and connected the wires. Above the trapdoor, place blocks and levers. Now, the string generator is initially completed. Jumping off the string generator, many people had already gathered around, curiously watching Ian. Is it done already, young Master Ian? I've written it all down. Freya raised her notebook and shouted excitedly. Very clever, but it still needs to be debugged. Ian rubbed Freya's head, took out scissors, and cut the wire on the left. Immediately, he raised his head and activated the lever. As the trapdoor lifted, the water flowed out instantly, collapsing the wire connected to the tripwire hook. A string fell down. But after waiting for a while, Ian didn't see any other strings produced. Sighing, he understood in his heart that this string generator had failed. Young Master Ian, is it not working? Freya stared thoughtfully at the flowing water that Ian removed the blocks above and changed the direction of the blocks and levers. Strings were flying out continuously. In just a moment, a pile had fallen to the ground. In a matter of minutes, one string was replicated dozens of times. Chapter 18. Electrical current players' greatest hate, greedy merchant villagers. The group stood in front of the string generator, silent for a long time. After a long while, Leisure said blankly, "This is the string generator you've been wanting to make, young Master Ian? Where do these strings actually come from?" Whether it was the continuously produced string or the endless source of water, it opened everyone's eyes. It is said that the longer you stay in a place, the more you understand and integrate into the local customs. But the MC world doesn't seem to work that way. The longer Leisure stayed here, the more blurred her understanding of the world became. Water. Could it be that it's inherently endless and something that can hang in the sky? A small iron bucket that looks like it can only hold so much. Can it hold so much inexhaustible water? And where does this string actually come from? Could it really be copied out of thin air? Leisure turned into 100,000. Wise again. Spinning and taking off in place is one thing. It is said that some powerful mages in the Rodri continent can also fly. Trees growing in the air is one thing. Legend has it that the ancient tree of life in the elven forest is rooted in a lake. Drilling underground, healing from serious injuries. These are outrageous, but acceptable. But this string generator, is it really endlessly producing, even if the Rodri continent is barbaric and still a Western fantasy world? It can't ignore the law of conservation of energy, right, young Master Ian? Leisure pursed her lips and looked at Ian blankly. Don't ask, just say it's the dawn's blessing. Ian immediately raised his hand to stop Leisure from asking further. He was joking. He hadn't figured out why, after playing with electrical currents for so long, did she expect him to be able to explain it clearly? Just like many redstone technologies that Ian mastered, he doesn't need to know why, he just needs to understand that doing this will yield results. Ian is a typical pragmatist. The string generator, and even the many technologies of electrical currents, are, to put it bluntly, game bugs that some big shots figured out when they had nothing to do. Bugs are also a characteristic of the MC world. In the end, it all comes down to one sentence. Why do you care so much? Isn't it enough that it's useful? The bug designed by the programmer must have its own reasons. Was more iron, he could make a hopper, so he wouldn't have to stand here collecting it himself like an idiot. Unfortunately, iron is also a scarce resource now. So, the next stage goal is the iron generator. Ian clapped his hands, and Leisure's eyes lit up, looking at Ian expectantly. Young Master Ian, can the iron generator produce iron endlessly out of thin air, like the string generator? Of course, otherwise why would it be called a generator? Getting Ian's affirmative answer, Leisure was overjoyed. That's great. Now our Dawn Church will have a massive amount of iron ore. Whether it's for the military or civilian use, it's too important for the development of Blackwater City and the Dawn Church. Looking at the hopping Leisure, Ian smiled. To be honest, the iron generator that Ian made was the most unsuccessful. Often, due to different game versions, there are different ways to make iron generators. However, considering that Ian's MC world has no division versions, perhaps it will be easier to make. But now, the priority of the iron generator has to be put on hold for a while. Having a string generator only means that the most important first step of electrical current has been opened, which is equivalent to having your own source of goods and your own industry. And next, it's time to find a sucker to receive these strings. He made a wooden bucket next to the workbench, and Ian went to the house where the villagers were held. As an electrical current player, the favorite villagers are definitely the fisherman and the Fletcher. Because these two guys both collect string more troublesome to make. It requires flint. Ian doesn't have flint yet. He'll wait a while and go to the lake to find gravel to dig some up. The Fletcher is also a very important profession in the early stage of electrical current effect arrows and enchanted bows. Coincidentally, Ian also plans to armor Isle and the others as Archonites Knights is very high. Elven archers and mages tend to preserve a lot of living strength. Breaking open the mud blocking the door, Ian walked out carrying a villager and blocked it back casually. The latest and fastest novels are here. Next to the 3 professional villagers who were locked up, Ian found a place to make a building that restricted the fisherman's movement. This is finally a success. Young Master Ian, are you treating these villagers like this? Won't they really resist? Finally, Leisha couldn't help but ask. Ian said casually, no, they have no wisdom. Alright, don't worry about these things, give me the string. Leisha quickly handed Ian a stack of string. The efficiency of the string generator is very high. In such a short time, it has already produced more than a stack. At this rate, it should drop hundreds of stacks a day emerald. Villagers will also raise prices to regulate the market. Greedy merchant. Ian cursed, looking at the price of 4 fish for 1 emerald in the transaction panel, wishing he could punch a hole through the fisherman. The most important thing is that this guy doesn't even have the option to exchange string. Wanted to exchange string for emeralds. 20 strings for 1 emerald. Although it doesn't change the villager's greedy merchant nature, it doesn't matter. Ian's string comes faster than robbery. The fisherman's role, for Ian, is only to farm emeralds. Ian doesn't look at other transactions. After exchanging a stack of string and getting 3 emeralds, Ian didn't continue to farm in a hurry. Unremarkable emeralds in the game. The real emeralds exuded a dazzling treasure light. As soon as they were taken out, they attracted the attention of Leisha and Freya. It can be seen that the little girls really like this kind of shiny thing, point just like dragons. Here, Ian smiled and handed Leisha and Freya 1 emerald each. Young Master Ian, Leisha, was stunned. This is the first emerald we got in the MC world. It has a very important commemorative significance. 1. For each of the 3 of us. Leisha looked at Ian with some emotion. How can this be? Young Master Ian, this thing looks very precious at first glance. Even if it's put in the royal capital, I'm afraid it can be exchanged for thousands of gold coins. Then, Leisha gave a long speech about how difficult it is for Blackwater City to develop, persuading Ian to save money. But, I understand the reasoning. Ian pursed his lips, looking at Leisha with a complicated expression. But, next time you say these big truths, can you let go first? I'll give you the emerald. You don't have to snatch it. Chapter 19. Blackwater City Riot. Strictly speaking, the moment we found the village in the MC world, the living current was on the right track. And the creation of the string farm was like Watt's improvement of the steam engine, marking the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. We use the endless strings to convert into emeralds, the common currency of the MC world, to build a long-term, stable, friendly, and harmonious trading system with the villagers' enchanted equipment and finished resources that can be obtained without mining or painstaking enchanting. After the string farm is completed, the next steps are villager breeding, iron farms, villager trading centers, automated farms, and pastures, and so on. Fortunately, Ian still knows a little bit about the steps mentioned above. These are enough for the early development of Blackwater City and the MC world. In the following time, Ian gathered enough materials for 5 more string farms to maintain high power string production. In just a few hours, He had collected 3 stacks of emeralds, and the fisherman villager also successfully reached maximum level. What's next, young Master Ian? After putting the emeralds in Ian's house, Leah ran back full of energy. Next, Ian looked at the sun on the horizon point. Currently, they don't need to mine with the living current point. The village in the plains is a good base location, and Ian doesn't plan to change locations for development in the short term. Point the village a breeding center, iron farm, and other buildings are not in a hurry. On the contrary, seeing that Leah and the others are almost forgetting about Blackwater City, this is what Ian needs to adjust the most. No matter how good the MC world is, Blackwater City, as the main base, will not change. Were very unhappy when they heard they were going back. What? Ian rolled his eyes unhappily. What? Are you going to abandon Blackwater City? Let the citizens of Blackwater City, let the newly recruited believers fend for themselves. The Church of the Dawn doesn't need to develop. The revenge for being driven out doesn't need to be taken. There are still many things to do in the Rodri continent. Don't be too obsessed with the MC world. There should be a limit to playing games. Ian's reprimand made hang their heads dejectedly. Seeing this, Ian didn't continue to lecture and waved his hand. Alright, go pack your things. Take anything you want to take. Regia, take people to plant all the cultivated farmland with wheat seeds. Leah, take all those arrows. I made some bows and arrows in my box. Each of you take one. Bring enough food and other things by group, and should bring at least 1 stack of stone blocks. Go. As soon as he finished everyone speaking, everyone scattered. Ian also went to pack up the things he wanted to take away, although he estimated that the next time he came would be at night or tomorrow. But he always had to bring some emergency supplies, and Blackwater City also needed construction, so he should bring back as many resources from the MC world as possible to save up to prepare for future construction. Before long, everyone packed their things and returned to Ian. Ian didn't say anything and called for the MC world gate in his heart. He only felt a moment of trance, as when he came back to his senses, he was already in Ian's bedroom. The MC world gate still emitted a faint dazzling light, which was soul stirring. But everyone didn't pay much attention to this at this time. Leah clenched his fists a little uneasily and sighed faintly. The surging power was gone, but fortunately, the backpack panel could still be summoned. This can be considered a free space. Hiss. Suddenly, Markov hissed and gasped, and when looked over, this guy smiled embarrassingly while covering his bloody left hand. That, I just wanted to test if I was dreaming. After all, today's experience is too dreamlike ability. Ian silently looked at Markov's almost bone-deep wound and sighed. Bandage this idiot. Leah glared at Markov, then turned to say, young Master Ian, what do we do next? Sitting on the sofa, Ian supported his face and thought for a while, then said softly, you go to the gate of the city lord's mansion to recruit believers. The standard is still 500 people, and the slogan is the same. Come back when you have recruited enough. Then, gather the believers in the afternoon. As the Pope of the Church of the Dawn, I should also meet them, and plan the development of the Church of the Dawn. After that, inspect the city defense and army of Blackwater City, and survey the surrounding area to see if there are any magical beasts and scattered demons. There are not many things to do, but they are all very important. Leah nodded to show that he understood. He knew this aspect very well. It was still the egg and bread temptation. But this time, having seen the MC world, Leah was not worried about not being able to fulfill his promise. At style point, Ian was planning to order Regia and the others to replace all the beds and torches in the castle. Harlan, the knight who had just gone out, hurried back. He looked anxious and sweaty. Young Master Ian, something bad happened. The gate is full of Blackwater City citizens. The gate of the city lord's mansion is blocked. What's going on? A riot? Regia's face sank as she stared at Harlan. No, it shouldn't be, it doesn't look like it. Harlan said with a bitter face. In short, you should go and see for yourself, young Master Ian. The latest novels are first published at. Regia looked at Ian worriedly. The latter pondered for a moment, then smiled confidently. Bring me my papal robe, young Master Ian. It's too dangerous. It's nothing. Ian glanced at Regia with a smile, meaningfully saying, after coming back, my physique has not completely disappeared. Immediately, Regia said nothing. Having shared Ian's physique, she understood what kind of terrifying power it was, even if only a small part was shared. Ian's strength was not comparable to Leah's in this way. It was natural that no one in Blackwater City, this small border town, could threaten Ian. Sir, can we really get eggs and bread? If we believe in the Church of the Dawn, can I get an advance on next month's eggs and bread? I haven't eaten anything for 5 days. Just give me a sip of water. I haven't had water for 2 days. Sir, I'm a devout believer of the Church of the Dawn. Let me join the church first. In front of the city lord's mansion, the preaching stall that no one had visited yesterday was already surrounded by people. Leah understood that the skinny citizens in front of him were all here for the eggs and bread summer, and it hadn't rained for 3 months, and there was a severe drought were gone, and the water was gone. If it weren't for the Church of the Dawn's declaration of eggs and bread, I'm afraid there would be no hope for the people in this city to survive. Precisely because he knew this, even if he knew that these people didn't believe in the Dawn, they were just after small advantages. Leah didn't want to speak harshly. They just wanted to survive. But now that these people were surrounding here, not only were they interfering with the Church of the Dawn's recruitment work, but after a long time, Leah was also worried that there would be a riot. It was dry and hot, people's hearts were restless, and it was easiest to cause trouble. After thinking about it, Leah still mustered up his strength and shouted loudly, "Believers of the Dawn, don't be impatient, lest the demons take advantage of the situation. Protection, give you food, give you nectar." But this statement could not make the citizens who were surrounding here calm down. Talking about these things, after eating enough was a study of high art. Then, after a brief silence, a unified and loud shout broke out here. "We want to see the city lord." The previous city lord said that good days would come when the new city lord came, and the previous city lord also said that good days would come when this city lord came. You don't care about our lives at all. Dragging on today, dragging on tomorrow, dragging on the day after tomorrow. When will we be able to eat and drink enough? Half dead from thirst and hunger every day. I would rather die at the hands of the demons and be done with it. We want to see the city lord. We want food. We want water. We don't want any bullshit church. Leah's heart sank, and his eyes swept across the crowd. At this time, the city defense army of Blackwater City had also arrived, but they all looked skinny, also victims of the drought. At this time, they had no intention of maintenance order at all, and some people even mixed in with the crowd and shouted together. Heard that someone was belittling the Church of the Dawn at this time. He was already unhappy. He tightly gripped the great sword in his hand, and his fierce eyes swept across the crowd. But after looking and looking, he didn't know who was shouting. Finally, when the preaching stall was about to be overturned, heavy footsteps came from the city lord's mansion. I heard, someone is insulting the Dawn. Chapter 20. The Secrets to Becoming a Qualified Charlatan. This book is first published on Hungerhallow. The tightly shut gates of the city lord's mansion swung open with a bang. Immediately following, Ian, clad in a gold and white interwoven, spacious and long papal robe, and wearing a golden papal crown, stepped out first. Behind him, on one side were Asia and the others, all dressed in black and white nuns' habits, and on the other side were heavily built, stern-looking armored knights. Ian heavily slammed the golden scepter in his hand onto the ground, instantly scattering gravel. Snorted and followed Leal back to Ian's side, standing at the forefront of the papal knights' ranks. "Your Holiness." Leal deeply understood the principle of addressing people by their titles when working, and bowed with his hand on his chest, his face full of reverence. "I apologize for failing to meet your expectations. It doesn't matter, Bishop Leal. The Dawn sect forgives its devout and loyal children." Ian raised his scepter and placed it on Leal's left shoulder with a kind and compassionate expression. Watching the Blackwater City citizens who were clearly intimidated, Ian breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. It was worth spending half a day honing his Stanislavski acting theory system in front of the mirror before coming out. The effect is very good. He is now the #1 charlatan on the Roderick continent. Thank you for your mercy. May the Dawn be eternal. Leal performed a set of incomprehensible rituals, which made the citizens even more stunned. Their hearts inexplicably gained a bit more trust in the Dawn Church. This is the crushing power of style. Ian's evangelistic theory, it is about creating sufficiently cumbersome rules and rituals that are not very useful, complicating a simple matter. This is the advanced sense of mysticism. Young Master Ian, someone is instigating. Slightly, but he did not express his position. He just rested the scepter on the ground and looked at the densely packed citizens with his aura fully activated. A gentle tone. Believers of the dawn, people of Blackwater, hello. Allow me to introduce myself for the first time. I'm the Pope of the Dawn Church, and also the Lord of Blackwater City, Ian Forbes. I'm the walker chosen by the Dawn to spread its good name and glory. I'm also the head of the Dawn Church family, a father, and also a mother. Speaking of this, Ian paused, then opened his arms, his full face of compassion. Ignorant but pitiful people, the Dawn loves you all equally. Those who love him, hate him, respect him, fear him. He does not hesitate to bestow love. He knows what you have encountered. The darkness shrouds, and it is difficult for the dawn to descend. If you have any grievances or sorrows, tell me everything, and I will use the dawn, in the name of the Father, to lead you out of the maze. Ian had been preparing this speech for a long time, but he didn't expect to use it today. As for the effect, it was quite good. The citizens were fooled, and even Leisure and the others looked at Ian with their hands clasped in worship. It seems that he does have a talent for being a charlatan. Ian couldn't help but feel a little complacent. We don't want anything, we just want a promise. We don't understand anything about dawn or no dawn. All we know is that every city lord who comes here says they will let us live. But every generation fails to do so. My father starved to death. When will you let us have food and water? This sentence, which floated out from nowhere, immediately made Ian narrow his eyes slightly point, but immediately afterwards, like a powder keg being lit, the surrounding citizens of Blackwater City exploded. We don't care about any dawn. We just want to be full and have enough to drink. That's right. What about the promised egg bread? We're about to starve to death. Who cares about your dawn or no dawn? You nobles don't want to care about us at all. You just say some big words to fool us, letting us wait to die. We are not doing it anymore. We want food. In an instant, the citizens of Blackwater City were in an uproar again, and more city defense troops joined in at the same time. Never trust the wisdom of the people. The human heart is inherently unpredictable. Fortunately, Ian plays a role of creating gods. Looking at the more excited citizens, Ian gently tapped the ground with his scepter. The next moment, the sound of a dozen or so bows being drawn to their full extent rang out at the entrance of the city lord's mansion. Leisure and the others on both sides behind Ian had already bent their bows like full moons. This really startled the people of Blackwater City. Archers. Not to mention in Blackwater City, this small border town, even in the entire country of the Bilka Principality, there are no more than 100 archers. They are all of the royal family, only responsible for protecting the royal family. After all, in the barbaric and backward Roderick continent, ranged attacks such as bows and arrows are quite precious. Only the elven race can produce a large number of archers. The newest novels are first published. Faced with the crisis of life and death, the hot-blooded emotions of the Blackwater City citizens were instantly doused with cold water and settled down. At this time, Ian said leisurely, "Children of Blackwater City, I know you are bewitched by evil demons and acted impulsively. But fighting will only please the evil demons and make the dawn weep. Please believe in the Dawn Church. Under the benevolence of the dawn, there will be eggs, and there will be bread. But remember, the dawn does not like children who do not work for their gains. As the saying goes, force is to make fools listen to reason calmly." Although the words are crude, under the threat of 19 bows and arrows, the citizens of Blackwater City honestly communicated in low voices. After a while, they pushed out an old man with white hair. Leaning on a cane, he tremblingly walked to Ian Survive, who would be willing to risk their heads to cause trouble. Ian waved his hand and asked Lil and the others to put away their bows and arrows. Then he said calmly, "I know you, a believer who joined the Dawn Church yesterday. What do you want to say?" The old man smiled bitterly and said humbly, "Your Holiness, you don't know, before you, 4 city lords have been replaced in just 3 months. Every City Lord has said that they will let the citizens of Blackwater City live, but in the end, they all leave directly after continuously collecting taxes and plundering wealth. Blackwater City has had no rain for 3 months. Under the severe drought, there is no harvest. At present, there are countless people starving and dying of thirst in the city. If we were not really desperate, who would be willing to put down their faces to ask for food? After speaking, the old man quietly glanced at the thoughtful Ian. He hurriedly said again, "Your Holiness, we don't ask for egg bread, as long as we have something to eat and drink, even if it is tree roots or swill, as long as it is enough for us to survive, it is enough." Ian was silent, just afraid of being tossed around by the previous city lords. They finally see hope and want to take a gamble. Unfortunately, the more this is the case, the easier it is to be exploited. "Your Holiness, you said that the dawn will protect us." Continues, "How can survive everyone until the beginning of next month? If the dawn really exists, can you please show a miracle and save his poor children?" Ian looked around at the citizens of Blackwater City gathered here, all staring at him expectantly. The Dawn Church is their last hope. However, this just happens to coincide with Ian's plan. Taking advantage of this incident, the Dawn Church can completely establish itself deeply in the hearts of the citizens of Blackwater City. Dawn does not like those who do not work for their gains. It cannot bear to see its citizens die. Speaking, Ian raised his voice. "I know that you all have doubts about the Dawn Church, and you do not trust the existence of the Dawn. However, this is not important. The Dawn loves you. As the Pope, the father of the Dawn believers, next, I will convey the Dawn's compassion and bestow upon you the Dawn's protection." Chapter 21. A bucket of water, to make the dawn eternal. Let the citizens gathered at the entrance of the City Lord's mansion make way. Ian led Lear and the others to the middle of the open space point on the way. Ian quietly glanced at Lear. With their tacit understanding, Lear naturally understood Ian's meaning. His gaze swept across the crowd, as if searching for something strange. Little stone. Many people were still whispering, full of doubts about the Dawn God cult that Ian mentioned in the face of a dozen bows and arrows. But the next moment, all these whispers stopped ground. Countless eyes were staring, but no one knew where this thing came from. "As if it's the Dawn," someone exclaimed and immediately knelt on the ground. "The Dawn is showing its holiness. Support the Pope." As Ian continued to move forward, another identical cubic meter of stone, with completely similar textures, appeared out of thin air, just supporting Ian in mid-air. Ian still had a compassionate and gentle smile on his face, holding a golden scepter in one hand, and grabbing a stone block with the other. Amidst countless dumbfounded gazers, he stepped forward again, point like the second stone. Another stone appeared, point completely rooted in the air. Following closely, everyone were the fourth, fifth, and sixth stones repeatedly, until the ninth stone was placed. Ian had already stood above heads. The stone seemed to form a staircase leading to heaven. In the eyes of the Blackwater City citizens, it was carrying Ian, step by step, towards the sun. Until this moment, countless people looked up at Ian standing on the completely floating stones. The sun seemed to be shining above his head. The radiance was dazzling, causing many people to uncontrollably shed tears. Dawn. This is the Dawn. This smiles was also taught by Ian, who called it the self-cultivation of an actor. However, looking at the increasing number of believers kneeling around and praying for the Dawn's blessing, Lear and the others couldn't help but rejoice. The Dawn God cult had finally gained a firm foothold. Young Master Ian. Leisha put her hands together, looking at Ian in the sky with adoration, muttering softly, playing the divine manifestation so skillfully. "Young Master Ian, you still say you are not the God of Dawn." But in fact, Ian's Dawn manifestation operation was not over yet. Seeing that the height was almost right, Ian first looked down at the direction in the crowd, where there was obvious commotion. Then he took out a bucket of water. "Draw infinite holy water, to relieve the people's suffering." Full. The eyes of countless people, the heavenly ladder high in the sky, gave birth to rootless water out of thin air, rolling down. But strangely, its descending was speed infuriatingly slow, almost maintaining a uniform speed, falling down section by section, until it landed. The water column spread out in all directions in full view of relief. In the blink of an eye, it filled the nearby ground unstained. While everyone was stunned, Ian jumped down and landed directly in the water preserved. However, now was not the time to talk about this. Looking at the Blackwater City citizens who were already kneeling and looking at him with astonishment, blessings and sweet rain upon you to temporarily relieve your urgent needs. This water is the holy water of dawn, inexhaustible, endless, and everlasting. All the citizens of my Blackwater City can come and take it. Whether it is for drinking or irrigation, it is all possible. After saying that, Ian looked at the old man before and smiled softly. How is it now? The old man looked dazedly at the clear water source pouring down from the sky and tremblingly approached to scoop up a handful and drink it. He had never drunk such sweet water. Moreover, when people stretched out their hands to touch it, the water did not ripple, and when the water touched the soil, it did not become turbid. At this moment, many people were eagerly devouring it, but the water source did not decrease, explained by a magician. Then this endless, unstained holy water could not be done by magic. The old man was immediately filled with tears and turned around to kneel on the ground piously and respectfully. The newest novels are first published here. Dawn is merciful. The Pope is benevolent. May my Lord Dawn live forever. Pope. From now on, I will only be a Dawn disciple. I'm willing to bring endless glory to my Dawn God cult with my life. Pope, please let me join the Dawn God cult. Please. The Dawn God cult has been established in Blackwater City. In the future, they may not know who the city lord is, but the Dawn God cult, as long as this endless water is still there, the Dawn God cult will always be in the hearts of the believers. At this moment, Lear finally understood the power of faith that Ian spoke of to actively pursue it. Looking at the state of these citizens, I'm afraid that many people are willing to fight on the battlefield for the Dawn God cult a better life. As Ian finished speaking, there was another series of prayers for the eternity of the dawn. After a while, Ian waved his hand. Everyone has been suffering from the drought for a long time. Now that you have sweet rain, let's solve personal problems first. The work of the Dawn God cult to recruit believers is still continuing. Sign up in front of the city lord's mansion. You do not betray the dawn. The dawn will do its best to protect everyone. Hearing this, the old man, the representative of the Blackwater City citizens, was moved to tears. Kneeling on the ground, he cried loudly, Dawn is merciful, the Pope is merciful. Man up, don't say that. Ian's face was full of love. The dawn will not be angry with its own children. Moreover, you were also bewitched and used by the evil demons. Evil demons. The old man was stunned for a moment and said worriedly, Pope, is it the demon race? No. Ian's eyes suddenly turned cold, and he slowly raised his head to sweep over several specific directions. And vicious than the demon race, these evil demons live in people's hearts. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22, The Power of the Church, A Poison. Bishop Leal. Ian straightened up, the scepter gently tapping the ground. Instantly, Leal and Markov led their men, charging out like tigers into a flock of sheep. In the ensuing silence, the sound of bones breaking mingled with screams. Before long, 7 or 8 waiting individuals were dragged out. Judging by the extent of their joint contortions, their limbs had likely been broken. Endless water still pouring from the sky. They puffed out their chests and stared at Ian with fervent eyes. His Holiness the Pope is merciful and gentle. This action must have a deeper meaning. That's right. Maybe these people are infiltrating demons. The light of dawn won't mistake its own children. Out. Faith. Could it be so terrifying? Could it so quickly poison a person's perception like a drug? At that moment, Leal and the others gained a new understanding of the power of faith. Looking at the wailing cold people on the ground, a glint flashed in Ian's eyes. Of all times for something to happen in Blackwater City, why did it have to be on the 3rd day after the Forbes family arrived? Ian didn't believe no one was stirring things up in the dark. He instructed Markov and the others to lift their heads, facing the citizens of Blackwater City. Everyone, think carefully. Have you ever seen these people before? The citizens of Blackwater City looked at each other. After a long while, The old man from before tremblingly stepped forward. Supported by others, he walked around in front of the group, then exclaimed in surprise, "Wouldn't say I know, but anyone from Blackwater City should be at least somewhat familiar. But these few." Case closed. Ian nodded slightly and said softly, "These people are puppets controlled by the evil demons. Evil demons are more terrifying than succubi. They infiltrate the hearts of people, silently inciting them to fight and shed blood. It is these evil demons that caused everyone to lose control for a moment, committing such acts." Astonishment. "That's right. It's him. I remember. This guy was the first to speak ill of the Great Light of Dawn. This guy also belittled the Great Church of the Light of Dawn of Blackwater City." Having confirmed the existence of the Light of Dawn, they would naturally think of their earlier doubts about the gods. In their panic, they would naturally find scapegoats to blame in order to exonerate themselves. This was human nature. Ian beckoned, and Markov and the others escorted the group back to the city lord's mansion. He then put on a compassionate expression. "The Light of Dawn will not blame everyone for being bewitched by the evil demons. Evil demons nor demons can harm you. As for these people, the Light of Dawn is merciful and willing to give them a chance to exorcise the demons from them so that they may be reborn." With that, Ian raised the scepter high. In the sunlight, the scepter radiated golden holy light. "Children of the Light of Dawn, stand firm in your faith. Follow in the footsteps of the Light of Dawn, and one day, you will see the Light of Dawn and enjoy eternal peace. Long live the Light of Dawn." A large black robe covering her entire body gazed at Ian beauty. But the body shrouded in the black robe was even wider than Markov's burly frame, which was indeed a bit strange. She looked up in shock at the rain falling from the sky. After a long while, the girl clasped her hands together and, like the other citizens, prayed devoutly. Then, she took out a water bag and lined up to fetch water on the other side. Lord's mansion, closing the door and isolating the noise outside. Ian casually took off the crown and handed it, along with the scepter, to Leisha beside him. Sitting on the sofa, Ian gracefully cut the roasted steak in front of him. "Young Master Ian, those people?" Leisha asked in a low voice. "Blackwater City has big problems. I noticed just now that after the Blackwater City riot, the city defense army didn't maintain order at all, and some people even participated in it. Should I take people too?" Markov made a motion at his neck. He wasn't joking. Although the Blackwater City Defense Army had a military name, it only had 300 people at most. The most powerful knight among them wasn't even as strong as anyone Ian could casually pick here. Plus, the resources brought from cutting the MC World Point, not to mention anything else, just taking the longbows weighing hundreds of kilograms in their hands, could slaughter the City Defense Army in minutes. Ian said indifferently, "Not for now." Although the Church of the Light of Dawn has now firmly established a foothold, suddenly creating such a slaughter will frighten the believers. Leisha frowned. But such a city defense army. Ian picked up a piece of steak, paused. "Investigate and see who they met before today's riot. Make a record of those with problems. In a few days, have them go and encircle the remaining demons and monsters in the western forest." Leisha's eyes flashed, and she said softly, "What if they don't want to? Then it's not up to them." Ian sneered. The faith in the Church of the Light of Dawn is booming. In fewer days, after seeing more miracles, Blackwater City will become an impregnable land of faith for the Church of the Light of Dawn. Those who violate the command of the Light of Dawn are heretics. The existence of heretics may affect the descent of the miracles of the Light of Dawn. Spread this news, and the believers will solve everything. Hearing this, Leisha and the others thought about the fanatical gaze of the believers they had seen today and couldn't help but feel a chill. The power of faith is the sharpest knife and the most poisonous poison. But thinking about it from another perspective, issuing government orders in the name of the church is probably more effective than the city lord's mansion's orders. Controlling faith is more effective than controlling policies. Leisha and the others fell into deep thought. The significance of the Church of the Light of Dawn seemed to be more powerful than they had imagined. Ian slowly finished the steak in front of him and took the water Franny handed him to rinse his mouth. Undeniably, this method of manipulating faith was insidious and malicious. But it was very useful. If he could grasp the right measure, it would indeed allow Blackwater City to develop faster. At this time, Harlan returned quickly with a bloody smell. "Young Master Ian," they confessed. "Oh. Ian leaned back on the sofa with a playful smile. It seems they are more soft-boiled than I thought. Harlan scratched his head and smiled honestly. Actually, young Master Ian, they were very proactive. I hadn't even started torturing them when they confessed immediately after their repentance. Ian raised an eyebrow, curious. What did you say? Harlan grinned. I sent them to see the light of dawn directly. Chapter 23, sending a few zombies as gifts. West of Blackwater City lies Trent Town. Inside a resplendent castle, two portly nobles in lavish attire were tearing apart roasted beast meat with utter disregard for decorum. The grey-haired man narrowed his eyes slightly, caressing the sapphire on his gold ring. Calculating the time, things should have started in Blackwater City by now, right? Perhaps it's already over. Chuckled. Can it succeed? Don't let that little bastard run away again. A trace of sinister intent flashed in the grey-haired noble's eyes as he added, that old codger is quite strong. Last time, during the ambush outside Sunderland City, he resolved it single-handedly. Otherwise, we wouldn't have to go through so much trouble. Rest assured, there's definitely no problem this time. The blonde noble smiled confidently, pulling over a maidservant and running his greasy hand over her body. That old codger is just like that old geezer Forbes, full of womanly kindness. When facing those lowly commoners, he can't even grip his sword tightly. Once the riot starts, that old codger and his adopted son will be separated from the commoners. To ensure absolute success, I also had people contact the Blackwater City Defense Force. If necessary, they will also step in to stop others. Deal with that little bastard. The blonde noble made a cutting motion across his neck and laughed heartily. Then, we can rest easy. Hearing this, the grey-haired noble couldn't help but relax his brow, a hint of relief on his face. Keep the few maids beside that little bastard. My son has been longing for them for a long time. Selland even righteously accused me. For the sake of a few wenches, he actually insulted a noble. Serves him right for dying early. This time, bring those wenches back, and I will personally train them. The blonde noble chuckled. Don't worry, as long as that little bastard dies, the Forbes family's last inheritance will be ours. Just a few maids. Perhaps he was too excited, as the blonde noble's grip unconsciously tightened. The maidservant cried out, and the tray in her hands clattered to the ground, shattering the glass cup into pieces. For a moment, the area fell silent. Coming back to her senses, the maidservant was horrified, and hurriedly knelt on the ground, his hand with a smile. It's okay, clean it up and leave. Thank you, Lord. The maidservant trembled as she crawled over. The next moment, a sinister gust of wind struck from above. Bang! Accompanied by a muffled thud, a headless corpse lay on the ground. The blonde noble smiled as he pulled out a handkerchief, wiping the scarlet blood from his hand. In short, this arrangement is foolproof. We just need to wait for the good news from over there. Once that little bastard dies, we'll officially move into Sunderland City. When that time comes, I'll host a banquet at my mansion. You must honor me with your presence. The grey-haired noble smiled as he raised his glass in a distant toast. Alas. Let me do it first. I've already contacted the third prince, and he has agreed to attend the banquet. Oh. You've prepared early. The blonde noble laughed heartily, raising his glass and saying, let's celebrate our elimination of the obstacle. And our move into Sunderland City. Congratulations. Congratulations. The crisp sound of glasses clinking echoed as the two drank their fill. In the corners unseen by each other, their gazes were similarly sinister. Old codger. Next, you're the one who's going to die. With 1,000 waves of turmoil churning in their hearts, they couldn't help but address each other as brothers. The evil of human nature seemed to be thoroughly promoted among the nobles. Cleveland, Lyman. Looking at the two names on the slip of paper, Ian's gaze was as calm as water. Both the Cleveland and Lyman families are earl families, but their strength used to be somewhat inferior to our Forbes family. Lyle, who had returned after the recruitment of believers, sat to Ian's left and said softly, the Cleveland and Lyman families are both based in Trent Town. The heads of both families are knights, but even compared to me, let alone the old master, their strength is much weaker. Not long ago, among the forces that attacked our Forbes family and drove us out of Sunderland City, they were the most active. At this point, Lyle's face was filled with hatred. Back during the fourth anti-demon war, the old master saved these two old dogs' lives on the Burka Principality front. Otherwise, these two families would have been gone long ago. Now that the old master has disappeared, they can't wait to repay kindness with hatred and even think about off the roots. Truly beasts. Ian burned the slip of paper on the candle and said softly, "This is human nature." The riot of Blackwater City's citizens was indeed premeditated. Even on the way to Blackwater City, these people had come ahead to make cutting arrangements. As Ian expected, all three captains of the city defense force had been in contact with people from these two families. They had the city defense force disband and rest today in order to take advantage of the chaos during the riot to wipe out the Forbes family in one fell swoop. After seeing the names of these two families, Ian understood without needing Holland to explain. "Young Master Ian, what are your plans?" Lyle pondered for a moment and said in a low voice, "I understand that our Dawn Church has just established itself in Blackwater City and gained the support of the people. Logically speaking, now is a good opportunity to develop. But these two wolf-hearted and dog-lunged families can do such things, so naturally, they won't sit back and watch us continue to develop. As expected, there will be other actions next. Should I take a trip?" Ian leaned back on the sofa, closing his eyes to ponder. After a long while, Ian said calmly, "We need to make a trip. It's not the thief you fear, but being targeted by one. It's quite troublesome to constantly have these things causing problems. However, I'm not sending you to behead them. Although those two old geezers aren't as strong as you, Tree Crown City is, after all, their stronghold. I fear you might not return. Moreover, things haven't been peaceful lately. The frequency of abyss demon appearances has increased, and Blackwater City needs someone to guard it." Royal wasn't anxious. After the MC trip, he now believed in Ian unconditionally. He simply watched Ian quietly, waiting for his next words. The next moment, Ian opened his eyes. "Tomorrow, we'll return to the MC world and catch some zombies. When the time comes, we'll send these zombies to Tree Crown City." Royal was stunned for a moment, hesitating. These zombies, they shouldn't be able to kill them, right? Even though the zombies are very strong. Without Master Ian's constitution buff, I also have difficulty dealing with these zombies on the Rodri continent, but Tree Crown City has thousands of soldiers. They can grind them to death. The newest novels are first published here. Ian grinned, saying faintly, "I didn't intend for the zombies to kill them either. In short, you'll understand when the time comes. Throwing the zombies into Tree Crown City, with their strength, they will definitely be able to injure many people unfamiliar with zombie characteristics before they die. And once injured, without Ian's constitution buff, the Tree Crown City nobles are not even comparable to the villagers in the MC world. They will inevitably all be infected and become zombie villagers. Don't the Cleveland and Lyman-like families, to use the power of the people. Tit for tat, Ian will also let them see what the true power of the people is. Hopefully, the zombie plague will satisfy them." Ian's thoughts went beyond that. Killing is the worst method. Besides venting anger, it's useless. This does not meet the long-term development requirements of the church. Plain lies between the two cities, which is very suitable for farming. When the zombie plague in Tree Crown City escalates, it may even affect ordinary people. Ian will lead the Dawn Church's Paladin Legion to attack, purifying Tree Crown City in the name of Dawn. Cleveland and Lyman families for preparing the reason for expansion for him. Demons are rampant, and the people are living in misery. Since the 100 Races Alliance has been unable to deal with the demons, then they should step aside and let the Dawn Church take over. Returning to his senses, Ian looked at Royal. "How was today's recruitment work?" "Perfect." A smile also appeared on Royal's face. With Master Ian's Miracle of Dawn, the entire population of Blackwater City is fanatical. They don't want any egg bread anymore. Countless people are scrambling to become official believers as soon as possible. In my opinion, the entire population of Blackwater City now basically believes in our Dawn Church. Many people also begged me to tell you that they want to recruit more people every day. They are willing to pay to join the Dawn Church and even want to build a golden statue for you." Ian smiled and waved his hand. "A golden statue is unnecessary. Keep it at 500 people per day, or even reduce it appropriately, to maintain the Dawn Church's prestige." Also, gather all the believers another day to hold the Dawn Church's first prayer service. Coincidentally, Markov, you take people over to select and form the Dawn Church's own papal army. Ian stood up. In the future, in the territories controlled by the Dawn Church, there will be no organizations like city defense forces, only our Dawn Church's own papal army. If there are stronger knights and children with good talents, recruit them to form the papal knight order. The power of the army must be firmly controlled in our hands with faith. Master Ian is going to do great things. This thought flashed through the minds of Royal and the others. They exchanged glances and smiled knowingly. Yes, Master Ian. Ian walked to the wall hanging with the Blackwater City urban planning map. The City Lord's mansion is not in the very center of Blackwater City, but in the north. This makes it easier for Ian to plan. After thinking for a while, Ian pointed to the center of Blackwater City. Is there any building in this area? Royal came over to take a look and shook his head. No, Master Ian, this is a square. It used to be where Blackwater City mobilized troops. Ian took the pen handed over by Freya and circled it in red. Here, we will build the Dawn Church's first church. The surrounding area will be a commercial every week. They must go to the church to pray once, making this a habit ingrained in their bones. Royal recorded quickly, and after a while, said softly, understood, Master Ian, I will contact the workers immediately. But before Royal could leave, Ian stopped him. What workers are you looking at? For? What should we do then? Ian smiled without saying a word, and after a while, said softly, show the miracle of dawn. Chapter 24. Zombie Plague. Ian didn't explain to Leal and the others, but simply asked Leal to find someone to provide him with a design. There was only one requirement, the more exaggerated, the better. Don't consider whether it can be built, or how much engineering work is involved. Just consider making it magnificent and sacred enough days. Nothing else happened. Although the citizens of Blackwater City were still not getting enough to eat, with water, they wouldn't actually starve, or die of thirst. Being able to survive made the citizens of Blackwater City extremely grateful. Their loyalty and fanaticism towards the Church of the Dawn grew day by day. However, Markov and Harlan had been missing for the past few days. That there were no major events. During the day, Leal returned to recruit believers, and in the afternoon, he went to the MC World to build the City of Dawn of the Lake, and in the east, it even extended to the mountain mine. The villager breeding center was initially completed, and Ian had also created all the major professions starting to explore the mine. The harvest of iron ore was also considerable. In addition, the string farm continuously provided goods for trading emeralds. To Shop Point, in short, there was no shortage of Iron Point the longer Regia and the others stayed in the MC World. The more times their eyes were opened Point gradually, they became somewhat numb to it. Point the concept of the Dawn Heaven was completely integrated into their consciousness mind to dig all sorts of things, but also played with sand in the river. And even became obsessed with flowers and plants again. He spent a lot of bone meal to grow flowers, which made Regia's heart ache. Ever since Regia knew that bone meal could ripen crops, she had treasured every bit of bone meal, not letting anyone use it. She even wished she could dig up the mass grave to see if the bones of the Roderick continent could be used to grind bone meal. Ian used several stacks of bone meal to grow flowers, and Regia was so distressed that she almost fainted. Fortunately, with the monster spawning tower, bone meal was produced very quickly. Otherwise, even if it was Ian, Regia would have lectured him with a stern face. Brought Markov and Harlan back to the MC World. The two were covered in dust, but they didn't seem to be injured. When Ian returned to his newly renovated 3-story villa in the City of Dawn, the two were still looking around in shock. They didn't remember that the base in the MC World was so prosperous to quickly greeted him. Ian waved his hand, sat in the main seat, and Regia brought tea. Thank you for your hard work. Markov quickly said, it's not hard work. For the great Church of the Dawn, young Master Ian, this is what we should do. About Crown City. Before he could finish speaking, Ian interrupted Markov with a smile. Let's not talk about that first. Regia, give them the things that are prepared. Markov and the two were a little confused, but they still followed the direction Regia pointed and opened the box. Suddenly, a set of silver shimmering iron armor and an iron sword with magical luster came into view. Markov immediately drooled. Even when the Forbes family was at its strongest, he had never seen such a sturdy set of iron armor. Let you see it. Take it off. Ah. Seeing that Markov was really about to reluctantly take it off, Resha covered her mouth and chuckled. The newest novels are first published at. Young Master Ian is joking. The Dawn Heaven has developed very quickly in the past few days, and these armors are standard equipment for everyone. On. Silently recite hide in your heart, and you can hide the armor. However, when you return to the Roderick continent, don't take it off casually. You may not be able to put it on again after taking it off. This whole set of armor weighs 24 tons. Without taking it off, with the characteristics blessed by the Dawn Heaven, it will not produce weight influence. Markov hinted knowingly, but like Harlan, he had no intention of hiding it. Just kidding. What's the difference between keeping such a perfect set of iron armor a secret and wearing brocade at night? He, Markov, also has a need to show off. This sword is an enchanted iron sword, all with level 2 enchantment sharpness. Just think of it as a magic weapon. It's very powerful. Ian pointed to the sword in the box. The next moment, Markov and the two put away the two iron swords with lightning speed. They grinned innocently. Ian smiled, took a sip of tea, and said softly, "Okay, let's talk about the situation in Crown City." Hearing this, Markov became serious. After thinking for a while, he said solemnly, 5 days ago, Harlan and I took the zombies to Crown City. Taking advantage of the night, we each threw 5 into the clan lands of the Cleveland family and the Lyman family. People the zombies had injured. But indeed, we smelled blood. In the following 2 days, we learned from the replacement troops that the two families were in chaos, and many people were acting like crazy. Closed doors. It's not clear who it is, but it is said that the most arrogant and domineering second son of the Cleveland patriarch has not shown up for several days. Mages. We couldn't find out any other details, so we hurried back. After saying a lot in one breath, Harlan picked up the teacup and took a big gulp, took a breath, and said again, "In a short time, they probably won't bother to think about us here. Young Master Ian, do you still need us to transport other zombies?" Ian leaned leisurely on the chair and chuckled. "Not for the time being. Next, we just have to wait for the zombie plague to ferment. You guys rest for a while. Tonight, we have a big event." They spoke in unison. "Young Master Ian, who are we fighting?" "We are not fighting anyone." Ian stood up, and the white papal robes fluttered. "Tonight, we will create a miracle of the dawn in Blackwater City." Chapter 25 A miracle that rise overnight. Dawn breaks, and all things awaken. Old Matthew, who lived in the west of Blackwater City, got up with the sunrise point. After washing and tidying up, he dressed neatly, pushed open the door, and then clasped his hands together, silently reciting the oracle scripture of the Dawn God sect facing the rising sun. Taiwan novel website. Besides him, the surrounding neighbors, men, women, old and young, all face the rising sun in prayer as devoutly as he did. Ever since the Dawn God sect established itself in Blackwater City last month and demonstrated the miracle of endless holy water, this has become a compulsory morning routine for every citizen of Blackwater City. Old Matthew remembered that, in the words of the Dawn God sect's bishop, this was called morning prayer only with a firm and devout heart, praying for the Dawn's protection. Would one be qualified to enjoy the Dawn's benevolence? This applied to both registered and unregistered believers. For them, the heart of faith in the Dawn was no different, only the official certification of identity mattered. Now, it was not easy to recruit registered believers into the Dawn God sect well versed in the oracle scripture were qualified to obtain official status. Fortunately, old Matthew was among the first batch of believers to join the Dawn God sect, and his understanding of the oracle scripture was also profound. Relying on his own devotion to the Dawn, he also secured a job explaining the meaning of the scriptures to those believers who had not yet entered the church. The salary was not high, but in Blackwater City, it was now a very respectable job. Proud, but he was very dissatisfied with him students. The Great Dawn brought all hope, yet they had not yet mastered the oracle scripture of the Dawn God sect. Was this not a lack of devotion to the Dawn? The Dawn is merciful, feels all good, and saves all evil. Old Matthew prayed with a solemn expression, then returned to the yard to take out a wooden bucket, intending to fetch water from the holy water pool for today's use. Although food was still a problem, Having a constant supply of water, whether for planting crops, drinking, or even bathing, was possible. In this year of great drought, this was more important than anything else. Teacher Matthew, good morning. A young man greeted Matthew with a smile, apparently also carrying a wooden bucket to fetch water. This young man was one of Matthew's students, who had not yet fully understood the interpretation of the oracle scripture. Matthew glanced at him and snorted otherwise. These unfaithful fellows would not be qualified to use the holy water vegetable garden, and then in the morning, teach the meaning of the scriptures to those believers, who had not yet joined the church, and pray for the dawn at noon. In the afternoon, study the true meaning of the dawn with other registered believers of the citizens of Blackwater City nowadays rising sun. Accompanied by some believers who were also going to fetch water, he headed to the city lord's mansion. Logically speaking, today would also be such a peaceful and serene day. But as they walked to the center of Blackwater City, looking at the magnificent and holy 100-meter castle, everyone was dumbfounded. The castle was right in the center of the city's square, and old Matthew swore that before he went to bed last night, it was still empty. In the past days, he hadn't heard anyone say that there was a new building to be constructed here. So, this thing appeared out of nowhere? Fell from the sky? Old Matthew rubbed his eyes hard, and after a long time, he determined that this was definitely not a great masterpiece that could be made by human power. It was over 100 meters high, pure white throughout, and the 9 steps levels of spacious and long steps were also pure white, unshaded by a speck of dust. Directly opposite was a hollow sealed with huge transparent glass on all 4 sides, and in the very center was a huge archway, almost 50 meters high. Inside the archway was a deep and secluded passage, with dense torches inserted on both sides, giving a sense of grandeur. Further up were decorations that seemed to be the work of nature, also sealed with glass, emitting colorful light in the sunlight. Above the archway was a huge circular frame structure, divided into crosses in the center. On the circular frame, there seemed to be a huge eye pattern, and in a trance, old Matthew saw a sacred and merciful gaze in it. This building that appeared out of thin air was right in front of them, sacred, pure, in the eyes of the citizens of Blackwater City. This building deserved all the beautiful descriptions in the world. Impossible. Someone rubbed his eyes hard and exclaimed, "Yesterday. I passed by here hundreds of times yesterday, and I didn't see this building. Could it be some kind of magic? Bullshit. What kind of magic can create such an incredible building overnight? This must be the work of a god. The newest novel is first published here. A god. Then it must be the Great Dawn." Teacher Matthew, you know the most about the oracle scripture. Do you know what this is? Is it the work of our Great Dawn? Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, old Matthew closed his eyes, and after a long time, tears welled up in his eyes as he knelt on the ground, clasping his hands together with a devout expression. Dawn. Forever. Great Dawn. Finally showing its miracle again. Quick. Pray with me. The oracle scripture records that the dawn is the great creator, with the power to turn imagination into truth. It must be our piety that has moved the dawn, causing the dawn to have mercy on us. The dawn will send down oracles. They immediately forgot about fetching water, and knelt on the ground one by one, praising devoutly. The uneven sound of prayer became louder and louder as more and more people came. In their eyes, this sacred building also emitted a gentler dawn. Previously, because of the arrival of infinite water, the believers who already firmly believed in the dawn god sect, looking at this impossible thing, the flames of faith grew stronger and stronger. Even those who originally had impure faith, looking at this building again, replaced all doubts in their hearts with the 4 words dawn manifestation curses could not do. After an unknown amount of time, almost all the people of Blackwater City gathered here, kneeling and praying devoutly and fanatically. Finally, there was movement in this silent sacred building, the archway below. Finally, familiar figures appeared before his eyes, devout and sacred expression, wearing a black and white nun's habit. Point on the other side was the most frequently seen Cardinal Lael. Point behind them, a uniform group of silver armored knights, wearing thick and mighty iron armor, with long swords at their waists, followed with neat steps. They walked out of the deep and dark archway, step by step into the light everyone's hearts, and a sense of security surged into their hearts. Step point after a long time, Ian and his party stopped on the 9-level white jade steps, overlooking the believers below. He slowly stretched out a hand. Believers of the Dawn God sect, may the dawn protect you. May your hearts be connected to the dawn. Dawn forever. As soon as the voice fell, the entire Blackwater city instantly erupted with earth-shattering shouts. Dawn forever. Dawn forever. Dawn forever. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.